Everyone, there's no need to be so panicked. I guarantee each person will get a portion. To make it easy, prepare how much you're paying ahead of time, called out Qian Duo. Wang Mang and the other outer sect disciples began to distribute the bottles filled with peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Quan Duo and 2 other disciples were in charge of the card transactions. As a result, the dozen of them weren't enough, and Wang Mang had to summon dozens of others, setting up 6 distribution points. 2 bottles of Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir were sold for 10 points. Any disciples who managed to buy it were incredibly excited. Its medicinal effect was much greater, but its price was halved. Such a good thing had never occurred before, as the 10,000 pill hall never had a sale on their medicines. As for the other disciples who offered to sell a few of their own personally refined pills, there was no way to guarantee the medicinal effect, and others were worried about getting ripped off. If it weren't for how Long Chen had repeatedly sold points as a foundation for these customers' trust, there wouldn't have been so many people who dared to buy his medicine now. But now it was different. The line for buying his merchandise was now hundreds of miles long. In the end, after buying it, people lined up to buy more. Due to Long Chen laying down a solid foundation of trust, there was a huge uproar. Many people ran over with half-believing attitudes. They bought a drop from others to test its effect, and as a result, they were completely shocked and hastily lined up with the others. More and more people were drawn over, and the line also grew longer. Even Long Chen was surprised. He had misjudged one thing. He had thought his main customers would be outer sect disciples. But he had forgotten, other than the over 8 million outer sect disciples in the sect, there were even more workers. And even the commoners bought a few. After all, peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir was useful for many things. No one would mind buying a bit, as after all, this opportunity was too rare. They were afraid of never getting such an opportunity again. Most importantly, people were lining up again as soon as they bought some. That made some hesitating people also join the line. Damn, what a spectacle! When Guoran and the others came over, they were stunned by what they saw. Stop wasting time and help. Set up 10 more distribution spots. I'm going to get more medicine. Long Chen quickly arranged for Guoran and a few Dragonblood Legion's warriors to help. The speed at which the elixir was selling was too fast. Looking at the huge crowd, the amount he had refined would probably not be enough. Boss, in just 2 hours, we sold 200,000 bottles. That's 1 million points. Qian Duo's voice quivered with excitement. In just 2 hours, this 1 million points was close to the sum of what the entire Dragonblood Legion got in a month. And looking at the trend, they would be selling even more. Yep, just keep going. This is just the start. Keep going at this speed. Long Chen nodded, having them continue working while he returned to his hotel. With 2 Dragonblood warriors guarding him, his mind sank into the primal chaos space again, and he continued to refine the elixir. 6 hours later, he suddenly sensed something, and his mind exited the primal chaos space. He saw that the 2 Dragonblood warriors had come in with grave expressions. Boss, bad news. The Alchemy Pavilion's people have come. There's nothing bad about it. It's well within expectations. Let's go. Long Chen went with the 2 of them back to their distribution point. There were dozens of people standing in front of the distribution points, roaring furiously at Guoran and the others who were selling the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Who permitted you to sell medicinal elixir here? Shouted a middle-aged man clad in the Alchemy Pavilion's elder's robes. Behind him were dozens of Alchemy Pavilion's disciples. They coldly stared at Guoran and the others. Seeing the middle-aged man, Long Chen couldn't help but laugh. They truly had fate. This person was the one who had threatened him and raised the prices on him in the 10,000 pill hall. Luobo Long Chen hadn't expected him to be an elder, and he had also never thought that such a person could be a king. Boss had us sell them. If you have any objections, you can go find him. Now get out of the way and stop holding up our business, said Guoran impatiently. Bastard, who is your boss? Demanded Luobo. It's me. What is it? Long Chen walked forward, his mind rapidly working. Just what was the best way to resolve today's matters? Long Chen? Ha, you really are brazen. Seeing that it was Long Chen, Luo Bo's eyes brightened and he smiled. I've been brazen for a long time now. Do you need anything? Asked Long Chen lightly. Do I need anything? Now you've done it. Do you have a license from the Alchemy Pavilion to sell this medicine? Do you have any authorization at all? Is there any guarantee of the medicinal effect? No one can save you now, Long Chen. Without the Alchemy Pavilion's approval, selling medicines in large quantities is a grave crime. Laughed Luo Bo delightedly. Long Chen's actions in the outer sect had caused all the law enforcement hall's subordinate workers to flee. There was no way for them to enforce the law, and so his profits had drastically shrunk. Although the outer sect was poor, there were many people. In those numbers, there was still plenty of profit to be dredged up. But Long Chen had run off the law enforcers' dogs, and even the true law enforcers were fearful of him. The outer sect was now Long Chen's land. During these days, the Law Enforcement Hall and Alchemy Pavilion had constantly been thinking of how to handle Long Chen in one move so that he would never be able to extricate himself from his charges. But since he had the Elder Hall's support, they found it very difficult to frame him for anything. Without assurance, they didn't dare to strike. Now seeing that it was Long Chen selling huge quantities of peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir, Luo Bo was ecstatic. Long Chen was doomed now. This was a huge matter that gravely went against the Xiantian Dao sect's rules. He would be forced to undergo a trial in the Law Enforcement Hall. And once Long Chen arrived in the Law Enforcement Hall, would there be any hope for him leaving? So Luo Bo was very happy, flowers almost blooming on his face. He could already see the scene of Long Chen screaming miserably as he faced the Law Enforcement Hall's torture. Now I've done it? I disagree. In fact, I feel like you're the one who has done it. Do you think I came here to do business without any approval? You're wrong and very wrong at that. I never do anything I'm not assured of, so why don't you come and take a look at this? Long Chen extended a hand. Luo Bo was startled. For Long Chen to be so fearless, did he really have authorization? But that was impossible. Luo Bo had always been in the Alchemy Pavilion, and he hadn't heard anything like that. Seeing Long Chen extend his hand, Luo Bo lowered his head to look at his palm. But Long Chen's hand was empty. Then it began to rapidly grow larger in his eyes. Pow! A resounding slap struck Luo Bo across the face. Those outer sect disciples selling the elixir were scared witless. That was a king. Long Chen dared to slap him? The matter of Long Chen beating up a teacher had been intentionally suppressed by the Alchemy Pavilion. The outer sect had received some information about it, but not very many people believed it. After all, the disciples who listened to those classes were all trying to form good relations with the Alchemy Pavilion. If the Alchemy Pavilion wanted them to shut up, they would obediently shut up. But now, in front of millions of people, Long Chen clearly demonstrated how to slap a king across the face. Long Chen dash, roared Luo Bo. His reply was a fist to the nose. Luo Bo shot back like a shooting star, crashing into a distant wall. Kings were truly kings. When he landed on the same place Long Chen had stuck those loaves of flatbread, he smashed a large hole into it. Don't move. If you dare to, I'll kill you. Those disciples who had come with Luo Bo all became still upon hearing Long Chen's cold shout. The current Long Chen appeared incredibly fierce, like a bloodthirsty magical beast. These alchemists that lived in their ivory tower while refining pills had essentially never gone to a battlefield. They were too intimidated to move. Long Chen shot forward. Just as Luo Bo came out of the crumbled wall, Long Chen gave him a kick to the chest. He vomited blood. He was truly worthy of being an inheritance elder. His battle experience was essentially zero, and he had no ability to dodge nor defend. Long Chen, I'll kill you dash bang. Luo Bo's roar was cut short as a kick from Long Chen struck his dantian. The pill flame he was about to unleash was interrupted. Long Chen gripped Luo Bo's throat, and then using his other hand he repeatedly slapped him across the face. Did it feel good taking my points? Keep feeling good. Long Chen's slaps didn't stop as he cursed. Long Chen felt his irritation at being cheated fading quite a bit. The disciples watching were all dumbfounded. Just what kind of monster was he to be able to repeatedly slap a king so easily? In truth, They didn't know that not all kings were such marvels. Inheritance elders had terrible combat abilities. They never went to the battlefield, and they rarely fought others. Even if they did fight, it definitely wouldn't be a close-range battle of fists. That kind of coarse and low-class fighting style was too crass for them. They would compete in other ways. Bastard die. Pill flame dash. Luo Bo's face had swelled into a pig's head before he roared furiously. But just as runes lit up around his body, a flame dragon coiled around him. Long Chen had summoned Hualong. When Hualong bound Luo Bo, the flames that were just summoned by Luo Bo dimmed and almost instantly disappeared. No! Luo Bo's expression suddenly changed. Sorry, those who take my points will have to repay what they took with the interest. Hualong, devour his earth flame. Hualong let out an excited roar. Its body suddenly shrank, becoming only 30 meters long. The compressed Hualong tightly bound Luo Bo, and its runes suddenly lit up. Luo Bo's expression completely changed. He felt the flame energy in his body surging out. It was gradually being absorbed by Hualong. He was both startled and infuriated. He was about to launch a counterattack with his pill flame. After all, he was a king, and devouring his pill flame wasn't going to be so easy. You should stay still. Long Chen pointed a finger at his forehead. Spiritual strength condensed in front of his finger, forming a spiritual arrow. If Luo Bo dared to circulate his spiritual strength to activate his pill flame, this spiritual arrow would pierce through his mind sea and instantly exterminate his soul. What appalled Luo Bo was that despite only being at the sea expansion realm, Long Chen's spiritual strength was not any weaker than his. That was shocking, as he was an alchemist, and his strongest aspects were his spiritual strength and pill flame. No one understood how terrifying Long Chen's spiritual arrow was better than him. This spiritual arrow was condensed from all his spiritual strength. If he wanted to resist, it would take his full power. But then he would only be able to watch as Hualong devoured his pill flame. But if he wanted to control his pill flame to resist, he would have to use his spiritual strength. Long Chen would take advantage of that time to kill him in one blow. Luo Bo began to sweat. I don't believe you dare to kill me, said Luo Bo coldly. Who knows? You can try it. Long Chen smiled indifferently. His words were calm as if he was just joking, but Luo Bo really didn't dare to resist. Long Chen was too wild, too domineering. He was capable of doing anything, and Luo Bo didn't dare to bet with his life. He felt his pill flame's energy being constantly sucked away. In just a few breaths' time, 20% of his core flame had been extracted. Long Chen, don't go too far. You're leaving yourself with no way out either, roared Luo Bo. That was his most precious core flame. He had been nurturing it for countless years, and it was comprised of the purest flame energy. He was unwilling to let it be sucked away just like this. Too far? It seems it really is a bit too far. But have you forgotten what you did to me? I'm a sea expansion disciple, but you're an elder. Your conscience allowed you to con me out of hundreds of thousands of points. For you, a grand king, to now say that this is too far, do you not feel embarrassed at all? No wonder after slapping you for so long, I wasn't able to slap off your face. If your skin was peeled off, without adding anything to it, it would be able to block the attack of a king item, sneered Long Chen. He wanted to shout that this was too far now. Why hadn't he shouted that when he had been conning him out of his points? Long Chen, Luo Bo clenched his teeth, and flames suddenly erupted off his body. But as soon as he did, that terrifying spiritual arrow pierced into his mind sea. That spiritual strength ran amok, making him feel like his soul would be torn apart. Luo Bo was horrified. He had hoped to force Long Chen off with his pill flame, because if this continued, his pill flame would be sucked dry. But just as he tried to force him off, Long Chen mercilessly attacked. Now he was sure that Long Chen wasn't trying to frighten him. He really did dare to kill him. Long Chen hadn't been merciful with this attack. Luo Bo couldn't bother controlling his pill flame any longer, and he hastily circulated his spiritual strength to resist. But Long Chen's spiritual strength had taken the initiative. Although both their spiritual strengths were around the same level, Long Chen had the advantage. Furthermore, as soon as he started attacking, he had no intention of stopping. That fierce spiritual strength was truly trying to kill Luo Bo. "You've gone crazy. If you kill me, you'll also die," roared Luo Bo. Blood poured from his 7 orifices. He appeared incredibly miserable, terror in his eyes. The disciples watching trembled in fear. Long Chen was too domineering. Was he really planning on killing a king? In their hearts, kings were supreme existences that were undefeatable. But in front of Long Chen, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist. "I'm just a C expansion rookie. To bring down a grand alchemist king for my life, I'm definitely profiting. What's there to be afraid of?" said Long Chen indifferently. Although his words were indifferent, his spiritual strength didn't stop. It surged like an angry sea without the slightest mercy, seeming like it wouldn't stop until Luo Bo was dead. Luo Bo bitterly endured, his face twisted in terror. He was afraid, he was regretful. He regretted that he ever provoked this madman. Now, he could only resist as best as he could. If he relaxed even slightly, Long Chen's spiritual strength would take his life. Just at this moment, Luo Bo felt a wave of weakness wash over him. His core flame was half gone. An alchemist's pill flame was their core flame, an energy linked to their spiritual yuan. Extracting his pill flame was extracting his essence. 50%, 40%, 30%. Luo Bo grew weaker and weaker, causing his pill flame to be absorbed even faster. In just a dozen breaths, he only had 10% of his pill flame. Luo Bo was powerless to resist. All his spiritual strength was spent on blocking Long Chen's spiritual attack. Long Chen suddenly smiled. "Do you know that you are an idiot? You're an abandoned chess piece. Your people are waiting for me to kill you so they can use your death to make sure I'm doomed. Hee hee, your life really isn't worth much. Die." Suddenly, a cold shout rang out, and a chain shot toward Long Chen from a crafty angle. It was merciless, containing immense power that was clearly more than enough to kill him. Long Chen snorted coldly. He put away Hualong and was just about to use Luo Bo as a shield when a sharp ray of sword chi severed the chain. Space twisted and dozens of figures appeared in the air. They were all kings, and they were split into 2 camps. One was the Elder Hall, and the other was the Law Enforcement Hall. Dozens of kings stood in the air, weapons raised in hostility. The atmosphere instantly grew incomparably tense. Li Changfeng sheathed his sword. That attack had come from him. He said, "Long Chen, don't be rude. Quickly release Elder Luo." "Oh." Long Chen tossed Luo Bo to the Law Enforcement Hall's elders. "If you wanted him, you should have just asked. Why bother doing something as shameful as attacking a junior generation disciple? No wonder you don't use shields. Your skin is impervious to blade or spear." Amazing, absolutely amazing. The Law Enforcement Hall's elders were infuriated, having an urge to kill Long Chen right now. They were elders, and the Law Enforcement Hall's elders at that. They represented the Xiantian Dao sect's top authority, but were criticized by a mere disciple. At this time, another group of people appeared in the air. These people were also wearing elder robes, but they were the robes of the Alchemy Pavilion. The person at the front of them had high cheekbones and his face was lean. He was the Alchemy Pavilion Master. "Lutsong, you should come out as well. I think you need to give me a perfect explanation," said the Alchemy Pavilion Master. His voice was full of anger. Space twisted slightly, and the Elder Hall Master appeared as well. He said, "If you want a perfect explanation, I have it. But we're still missing one person. Luo Fan, come out. We can all ask our questions openly so we can perfectly resolve things." As expected, the Law Enforcement Hall Master, Luo Fan, appeared as well. 3 people on the level of Hall Masters to appear in the outer sect at the same time made all the disciples' eyes almost pop out. In the outer sect, many people might never set foot into the inner sect in their lifetimes. Some had never even seen a king. But now, 3 Hall Master level experts had appeared. Good, keep going. It would be best if even the Shen Master would come out as well. Seeing 3 huge figures had descended, Long Chen was about to dance with joy. "Excellent, I also want to hear your perfect explanation, Lu Tsong," said Luo Fan. Lu Tsong smiled slightly. I've long since reported everything that happened to the Xiantian Tower's supervising department. Conveniently, I also sent some evidence of how the Alchemy Pavilion intentionally refused to allow Long Chen to join, instead mocking and insulting him. As for this elder Luo Bo, he intentionally abused his power to extort a disciple. As a result, the supervising department has been watching this as well, and they've managed to investigate quite a few behind-the-scene details. I'm sure that they will be able to give you a perfect explanation. Hearing that the Xiantian Tower supervising department was involved, the expressions of the law enforcement hall master and the alchemy pavilion master completely changed. Just at this moment, a strict voice rang out from the air. The supervising department has already investigated this matter to its roots. The Alchemy Pavilion refused to let a genius join due to selfish reasons, causing Long Chen's alchemy skills to have nowhere to be practiced. Therefore, it is the fault of the Alchemy Pavilion that Long Chen had to refine pills on his own without being supported by the sect, and his selling of them is also due to the fault of the Alchemy Pavilion. Luo Bo was greedy and used his position to take advantage of the outer sect's disciples, preying on the people. His reprehensible crimes cannot be forgiven. Within 3 days, his cultivation base is to be crippled, and he is to be expelled from the Dao sect. No! Luo Bo's expression completely changed. That was no different than killing him. Without a cultivation base, he wouldn't be able to get far before being eaten by wild beasts. The Alchemy Pavilion Master's expression also changed, and he immediately knocked Luo Bo unconscious, bowing to the air. We will follow Tower Department Head's orders. That Tower Department Head's voice continued. The law enforcement hall caused the outer sect to be in turmoil and depressed. It requires serious reorganization to fix, and so the law enforcers' posts in the outer sect are cancelled. The outer sect will now be overseen by the Elder Hall. Yes. Lu Tsang and Luo Fan both voiced their acceptance. But the latter's voice was clearly a bit uncomfortable. It was just that he didn't dare to voice his dissent. Long Chen. Just as Long Chen thought things were over and he was about to continue making money, the Tower Department Head's voice once more rang out, as icy as ever. A disciple is present. Long Chen immediately had a bad feeling. It seemed the Tower Department Head's voice wasn't very happy. You've broken the sect's rules multiple times, disturbed a class, and beaten up a teacher. Do you even place the Xiantian Dao sect in your eyes? The Tower Department Head's voice was incredibly intimidating. The Elder Hall's people's expressions became odd. For even the always emotionless Tower Department Head to now sound angry, Long Chen's ability to cause anger was truly amazing. Tower Department Head, if you put it like this, I'll have to disagree, said Long Chen. All the elders present sucked in a cold gasp of air. That was the Tower Department Head, the figure who overlooked the entire Xiantian Dao sect. He was a supreme existence, and his decisions could not be changed even by the sect leader, the Xian Master. Others might not be afraid of the Xian Master, but they would definitely be afraid of the Tower Department Head. After seeing that Long Chen wanted to argue against him, everyone's jaw dropped so low that you could stick an egg inside. You want to argue? The Tower Department Head's voice clearly contained some shock. In all his years as the Tower Department Head, no one had dared to speak to him like that, so he wasn't used to it. You said that I didn't place the Xiantian Dao sect in my eyes. I disagree. If I didn't place it in my eyes, I wouldn't have worked so hard to become a core disciple. You said that I broke the rules multiple times. I disagree with this as well. Each time I broke the rules, it was because someone else broke the rules first and I had to fight back. Am I supposed to just accept being beaten while others break the rules? I'm also a victim, because if it weren't for others breaking the rules and provoking me first, there would be no reason for me to break the rules. If you want to punish someone, you should first punish them. If you punish them first, then I will accept any punishment. But if you only punish me while letting them get away with their crimes, disciple will not feel comfortable in his heart, said Long Chen. Are you saying you feel wronged? Demanded the Tower Department Head coldly. I wouldn't say that. I just hope that you can treat me fairly and not wrong an obedient disciple. Long Chen shrugged. You are an obedient disciple? The tower department head's tone seemed to have changed slightly. It was like he was so infuriated that he wanted to laugh. But his voice quickly became cold once more. Stop spouting nonsense. Although you might have been the one wronged at the beginning, the way you handled it was completely overboard. As the Tao sect's disciple, your conduct caused grave damage to the dignity of the sect. Even if you were right before, you're wrong now. When you handle things in the future, you have to first consider the Shantian Tao sect's dignity first, understood? Disciple understands, said Long Chen. Of course he didn't dare to not understand. So, since you were wronged by others, and since it was just your way of handling things that was incorrect, and due to your attitude of admitting your errors, I can reduce your punishment. Starting today, you are demoted to, well, you can just continue being a worker. This matter ends here. If anyone has any complaints, you can report them within the next 3 days. The tower department head had originally been thinking of giving Long Chen a small slap on the wrist, but Long Chen was already a worker. He had been demoted to the bottom and couldn't be demoted again. If he was demoted again, the only rank left was commoner. But a commoner was not a disciple of the Shantian Tao sect. That would be equivalent to expelling him from the sect, and that wouldn't be a slap on the wrist. After this result was announced, the law enforcement hall master and the alchemy pavilion master both coldly left. This time they had completely lost. The elder hall master had beautifully made a fool out of them without giving them any power to resist. Once they left, the elder hall master smiled at Long Chen and also vanished. Li Changfeng patted Long Chen on the shoulder before leaving. Child, even if you feel bored, you should take it easy. In just a short moment, all the experts left and Luo Bo was brought away. What awaited him was a miserable fate. All right, brothers, starting today, the outer sect's medicinal pills will be sold here. There's no need for anyone to worry about not getting any, so take your time, laughed Long Chen. Only then did everyone recover from their shock and continue lining up for medicine. The disturbance caused by the alchemy pavilion ended up benefiting Long Chen's business. That was related to his powerful charisma. They felt that such a figure would definitely only sell peak-grade items and was worthy of trusting. They sold the elixir for a whole day and night. Meanwhile, Long Chen refined more elixir as the day went on. It was like he was squeezing fruit juice, constantly having Hua Long refine more and more. Boss, we're rich. Within Long Chen's hotel, Qian Duo held a dozen crystal cards as well as a list of their sales. He had practically gone crazy with joy. How much did we sell? Asked Long Chen. Guess. Stop talking nonsense and tell me. Hee, we made 38 million points. Heavens, I can't believe it. 38 million points. Qian Duo didn't know what to say. Although Long Chen had been prepared, hearing this number still shocked him. It was no wonder it was said that alchemy was the profession that made the most money in the world. Boss, how much did we get once we deduct the manufacturing costs? Asked Qian Duo suddenly. Once the manufacturing costs were out, just how much profit did they truly make? Manufacturing costs? Those could be neglected. So the number of points they had gained was 38,520,000. Long Chen directly gave 20,000 points to Qian Duo to give to Wang Mang and the others. One reason was for their work, and the other was for their starting bonus. They had put in quite a bit of work for this business. Boss, this is way too much. 20,000 points for a dozen people? Each person would get almost 2,000. It had to be known that outer sect disciples would only get points if they worked all out for a month. 2,000 points were 20 years' worth of income. We don't want untrustworthy people, and we don't question the people we trust. There's no need to worry about making them fat and having them get greedy. I'm good at judging people, so don't worry about it. They're outer sect disciples, so their potential is limited. Now that we're all acquainted, if we can help them, we should do our best. We don't want to have regrets in the future, said Long Chen. I understand, boss. I'll send them right away. Qian Duo couldn't help but feel that this was why all those who followed Long Chen were so unswervingly loyal. This kind of generosity was something he was incapable of. He wasn't willing to give away so many points to outsiders. 38 million points split amongst 13,000 people meant that each person would get less than 3,000 points. As expected, without being the manager of the household, you wouldn't realize just how precious each piece of rice and firewood was. He had thought that this profit would be able to make them fat, but as soon as he calculated it, he realized it wasn't as amazing as he had thought. Long Chen couldn't help but sigh. However, when he thought about it, he felt like he was being too greedy. Hugishin's Divine Beast Mansion had only gotten 5 million points for first place. He should know how to be content. Qian Duo quickly returned, but Wang Mang and the others followed him, saying that they couldn't accept this many points. Long Chen couldn't be bothered to say anything to them, and he directly tossed them out. Long Chen had Qian Duo return to Crouching Dragon Mountain. He was to give each disciple 2,000 points, and they could do whatever they wanted with it. They could learn what techniques they needed, they could buy what weapons they wanted. Even if they wanted to go pick up girls, it was fine. But Long Chen knew that no one in the Dragonblood Legion would do something like that. They were very dependable. The only possible exception was Guo Ran. Once Qian Duo left, Long Chen's mind returned to the primal chaos space. Hua Long's 8 split bodies had all turned scarlet like blood. Its powerful fluctuations shocked even Long Chen. Hua Long coiled around Long Chen, sending him a message that it had absorbed 90% of Luo Bo's pill flame. That had been extremely helpful to it, and it had instantly refined the remaining scarlet blood flame's essence. Long Chen thought about it and quickly realized that Luo Bo's pill flame was a merger of spiritual yuan and an earth flame. It was definitely an earth flame, but it had no life and its ranking was unknown. However, after being nourished by spiritual yuan for countless years, it had become a delicacy to Hua Long, and there were no side effects from absorbing it. It could be directly digested. Now Hua Long was so strong that it made even Long Chen afraid. Hua Long's terrifying potential allowed it to grow without limit. Back then, the Eastern Wasteland Bell had looked down on it and had wanted Long Chen to switch to another earth flame and feed Hua Long to it. Even the Eastern Wasteland Bell had been wrong. It definitely would have never imagined that Hua Long had this much potential. Even Hua Long's spiritual strength had greatly improved. It could communicate with Long Chen without any hindrances. Long Chen told Hua Long to help him refine Heavenly Star Sea merging pills when it had time. He wanted to get everyone to the peak of sea expansion as soon as possible. The next day, Long Chen received some good news. Zheng Wenlong had sent people over, and Long Chen immediately went out to receive them. Zheng Wenlong's people had brought over 100 kinds of materials to forge king items. They included essence metal, mithril, wind copper, blood tin, etc. When Guo Ran saw those, he almost wept. Although there had been quite a few fragments of king items from when the Eastern Wasteland Bell had attacked, those fragments weren't enough to refine true king items. This material completely resolved his most pressing issue. Before leaving, those people told Long Chen that after a while, more materials would come successively. Guo Ran also vanished like a wisp of smoke with those materials. He wanted to confirm some theories that he had learned. The Dragonblood Legion was now sufficiently rich to go all out cultivating. As for the Alchemy Pavilion and Law Enforcement Hall, in all likelihood, they would be forced to calm down for a while due to their failure this time. Long Chen also gave himself a vacation from refining to raise his own cultivation base. The peak heavenly geniuses like Hu Guishan and Hua Xiu had already reached the peak of sea expansion, and he couldn't fall behind. I can't stop eating medicine. Long Chen grabbed a handful of Heavenly Star Sea merging pills and stuffed them in his mouth. Long Chen entered seclusion. Because of his seclusion, the Shen-Tian Dao sect gradually returned to calm. The matter of the medicinal elixir in the outer sect had caused a huge disturbance. This time, there was absolutely no way to keep news of it quiet because far too many people had seen it. It had practically shaken the entire Shen-Tian Dao sect. Everyone came to learn of how domineering Long Chen was. In front of millions of people, he had repeatedly slapped a king across the face. The people who had seen that scene would never be able to forget it. Long Chen's name became even more resounding. At the same time, everyone came to learn of the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Many outer sect disciples were also moved by it, and they came over to buy it from Qian Duoduo. This result was within Long Chen's expectations. Except, due to Luo Bo, his plans had accelerated even more. Originally, he had thought it would need 1 to 2 months for the name of the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir to spread to the inner sect. He thought it would be a steady increase. So before going into seclusion, he had left behind a huge amount of stock for Qian Duoduo. Now Qian Duoduo was constantly busy in the outer sect. However, he had also run into a certain situation. That was that the Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gate's disciples had all stealthily sent people to buy it. That made Qian Duoduo very displeased. He still remembered how their people had immediately begun to sneer at them after buying their points. However, Long Chen had told Qian Duoduo not to mind them. They could buy as much as they want. Businessmen only cared about maximizing profit. They did business with anyone. There was no need to worry about fattening their enemies, because those people had no qualifications to be enemies with the Dragonblood Legion. Qian Duoduo sold them the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir, and a huge amount of points entered his pocket each day. For Long Chen to publicly sell the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir in the outer sect was a provocation to the Alchemy Pavilion. It was especially humiliating because Luo Bo had his cultivation base crippled and was expelled from the Shantian Dao sect. But because of various reasons from before, they had fallen into Long Chen's trap. He had a protective talisman now, making them incapable of doing anything. At first, the Alchemy Pavilion thought that Long Chen would eventually run out of elixir. On his own, there was no way for him to refine so much peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. But they quickly realized that he had so much elixir that he was unable to even sell it all. They had immediately raised suspicions that the elixir wasn't refined by himself and was instead bought from outside the sect. That was completely against the sect's rules. The Elder Hall had called Long Chen, and in front of everyone, Long Chen had summoned Hualong and allowed them to see how it refined the elixir. When the Alchemy Pavilion's people saw Hualong refine the elixir on its own, their eyes almost jumped out. This kind of alchemy technique dumbfounded them. This speed and efficiency were absolutely ridiculous. Long Chen only gave them a simple demonstration before calling back Hualong. The Alchemy Pavilion's people could only dejectedly leave. Although their disciples raised suspicions that Long Chen couldn't have that many medicinal ingredients, the Dao sect's rules only explicitly stated that it was not permitted to sell pills bought from outside. There was nothing about buying medicinal ingredients. As long as Long Chen refined it personally, he could sell it to others. Technically, he couldn't sell it in huge amounts, but now he had gained that authority because of how the Alchemy Pavilion had rejected his application. Very quickly, the 10,000 Pill Hall sent out word that their Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir's price was going down by 50%. Furthermore, they were holding a buy-2-get-one free sale. But when the disciples calculated it, they still felt that it was better to buy Long Chen's peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. After all, its medicinal effect was amazing. Even though the 10,000 Pill Hall reduced the price, there was still no one who bought it. As a result, in their fury, they directly cut the price in half again and had a buy-one-get-one free sale. Finally, some disciples were moved and began to buy their elixir. Long Chen sneered inside. They wanted a battle of prices? Selling it like this would cause them to lose money. Long Chen knew the Alchemy Pavilion was intentionally harming itself just to stop him from getting so much profit. The 10,000 Pill Hall's large discount was truly vicious. Fewer and fewer people were coming to Long Chen's side, making Qian Duoduo uneasy. He went to ask Long Chen if they should lower the price as well. Long Chen shook his head. Competing in prices is the display of the incompetent. Playing like this would be embarrassing. In any case, during this time, another 30 million points had entered their pocket. Calculating the total, the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir had brought him over 70 million points in profit. Long Chen told Qian Duoduo to stop selling it and have everyone focus on cultivating in peace. They could just watch how lively the situation was. As a result, it truly became lively. Many people had thought there would be a price war between Long Chen and the 10,000 Pill Hall. Then the ones to profit would be them. But then, Long Chen ignored the 10,000 pill haul. He refused to play with them, and he stopped selling the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Now all those waiting disciples became dumbfounded. But they quickly reacted and charged toward the 10,000 pill haul, almost causing the entire 10,000 pill haul to explode. They were dumbfounded. They had no idea what to do in front of this crazy demand for the peak-grade Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Due to the drastically reduced price, they were basically losing 3 times the manufacturing cost each time they sold a bottle. The disciples buying it had also seen through some clues and were going all out to buy as much as possible. This elixir didn't go bad, so however much they bought was how much they would save. As a result, just half a day after this crazy surge, the 10,000 pill haul announced that they had sold out, drawing the ire of all the disciples. "What are you talking about? You're just playing with us. How could you sell out this fast?" "Exactly, after lining up for half a day, you want to tell us there's nothing? After putting on such a show, how are you going to explain yourselves to the ones who lined up all day?" Seeing that there were so many disciples who had lined up without being able to buy any, the 10,000 pill haul could only thicken their skin and explain that they truly had no more stock. But more of the elixir would appear later. This explanation was unacceptable to everyone, but there was also nothing they could do. At most, they would shout a few complaints. They didn't have Long Chen's guts to beat people. Long Chen had long since expected all of this. For now, the Alchemy Pavilion would have to pay the bill for their own idiotic promise. They had to continue selling the Heavenly Heart Soul Calming Elixir. Although it would probably in limited quantities, they definitely had to continue selling it. Otherwise, it would be a slap in their own face. As for Long Chen himself, he was busy consuming medicinal pills each day. Occasionally, he would go out for a stroll in the inner and outer sections. Suddenly, there came a day when he was called over by the Elder Hall Master. He arrived in front of a tranquil lake. He saw the leisurely Shen Master fishing in a relaxed manner. "Shen Master, did you call this disciple?" asked Long Chen carefully. The Elder Hall Master had left after bringing him here. Facing the most powerful expert in the Shen Dao sect, even he felt a bit nervous. "Do you feel like I'm leisurely?" The Shen Master smiled slightly. "Well, you seem all right. You don't seem very busy." Long Chen nodded. "I feel like you're very busy." "Yes, I feel like I'm very busy as well." "Why are you so busy?" Long Chen was dumbfounded. It seemed this question had some kind of hidden meaning. He thought about it for a moment before saying, "I suppose because I was forced to." The Shen Master nodded. "If you stood in my position, would you be as leisurely as me?" "Probably not. If I were you, I'd first ferret out all those idiots in the Dao sect, give them a fierce beating, and kick them out of the sect." "Tidying up the atmosphere of the Dao sect would keep me very busy," said Long Chen. "Once the sect was tidied up, what's next?" asked the Shen Master. It seemed he didn't feel any anger toward Long Chen's words. "Then it'd be peaceful, and everything would go on the right track. Perhaps I'd be able to relax a bit at that time," said Long Chen. "I'm afraid that such a thing is unlikely. Battles never end. There are 2 kinds of battles, internal battles and external battles. Right now, the Dao sect is filled with unending internal battles, and from your point of view, it feels very chaotic. But this is a very normal state. A person's heart is naturally very competitive. Think about it for a moment. If you didn't have internal battle, then you would have to point your spears outwards and find a new enemy to unite the people. For example, your Dragon Blood Legion doesn't fight amongst themselves. That's because you are surrounded by enemies and have no opportunity for internal battle. But once the enemies around you are gone, you would have to either choose internal battle or find a new enemy. You rose from the Eastern Wasteland. I greatly admire your leadership abilities, but you are too domineering, while lacking control and patience. So I want to ask you again. Think about your answer. If you stood in my position, would you be as leisurely as me? The Shen Master looked at Long Chen. Long Chen's heart pounded as he thought of an extremely inconceivable thing. After a long while, he shook his head. "I am me. No matter what height I stand at, my thinking will not change." The Shen master smiled and allowed Long Chen to leave. As soon as he left, an ancient voice rang out. You still haven't given up on this? The Shen master sighed. I really am unwilling. I can pretty much tell a person's future with a look, but I can't see through Long Chen. He has too many variables to him. I really wonder, if I gave the Shen Tiandao sect to him, what would happen? Either it would soar to the peak, or be destroyed. And the chances of the latter are extremely high, said that ancient voice. Master, for so many years, you were peaceful, doing nothing special. Isn't that too boring? Asked the Shen master. What are you thinking? Don't do anything stupid. We stand guard over our ancestors' foundation. Don't make me have no face to meet the successive patriarchs once I die, warned that voice. You were too conservative, causing me to also become conservative. The Shen Tiandao sect has already lost the attitude of dominating the heavens that the original founder had. Instead, it has taken the attitude of an elder with a foot in the grave. If we continue like this, just how much longer can we last? Asked the Shen master. The ancient voice was silent for a long time before sighing, do what you want. The Shen Tiandao sect has truly lost its former glory. Since you have ambitions, your master will support you. Thank you, master. Don't worry, disciple will not let you down. The Shen master smiled. A bright light shone in his eyes. Long Chen's arrival had allowed him to see many things. Perhaps this was a chance for the Shen Tiandao sect to rise. Time truly passed quickly, and 2 months went by quickly. The day of the competition once more arrived. On this day, all the inner sect disciples who were supposed to participate gathered in the plaza. The Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, Heaven Female Alliance, Flame Gate, and 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples all looked at the Dragonblood Legion's members in shock. The last time they had seen them, the majority of the Dragonblood Legion's people had still been at the mid-sea expansion realm. But in just 2 months, they had all advanced to the late stage. 80% of them had reached the 9th heaven stage of sea expansion, and the remaining ones had all reached the 8th heaven stage. It had to be known that one of the key reasons they had been refused by the other 5 factions was because of their low cultivation bases. However, after joining the Dragonblood Legion, they had gone through a heaven-toppling change. Their cultivation bases were not weaker than any of the other factions now. The difference, which had been like a heavenly chasm, had been completely made up for in just 4 months. Standing at the front of the Dragonblood Legion was Long Chen. His aura was vast and powerful, seeming like the peak of sea expansion. For others, it truly would be the peak of sea expansion. He had reached the 10th heaven stage. He had eaten heavenly star sea merging pills like they were candy, practically never stopping his consumption. He had finally managed to raise his cultivation base to the same level as the other commanders. But breaking through 3 times had caused his aura to grow a bit out of his control. That was especially true when he had advanced to the 10th heaven stage, as his aura had instantly risen a great deal. The 9-star Hegemon body art was different from ordinary cultivation techniques. He had 13 heaven stages, and once he reached the 10th heaven stage, his power would leap. Each advancement afterward would be incredibly difficult, but the increase in power would be amazing as well. Furthermore, when he had reached the 10th heaven stage, his chi seas had instantly exploded in size. It was like a cup that had shattered. The limits of his chi seas were broken, allowing them to expand to a new level. Furthermore, he sensed the mysterious energy that seemed to have been limiting his chi seas had also vanished. His chi seas had broken their old limits and were once more expanding. That resulted in him now having twice as much spiritual yuan as before. That wasn't the most amazing thing. Once his chi seas began to grow again, the divine runes of the 3rd form of split the heavens being nourished in his acupuncture points were like dried-up riverbeds that had received rainwater. Just yesterday, they had been fully satisfied and stopped growing any stronger. In other words, he could now use the true power of the 3rd form of split the heavens. Everyone in the Dragonblood Legion looked like they had transformed. All of them were like completely new people, filling quite a few others with envy. The matter of Long Chen selling medicinal elixir in the outer sect for points was common knowledge to them. But being envious didn't have any use. They had seen the Dragonblood Legion's warriors use their plentiful points to equip themselves and cultivate in high-grade training rooms. They practically spent all day in high-grade training rooms. Their newly rich conduct irritated them, but for the Dragonblood Legion's warriors, it was extremely refreshing. To use some wise words that Guoran had once said, "I like it the most when looking at me irritates you, but you also can't do anything." During this time, the Dragonmark warriors had experienced the true meaning of what it meant to advance by leaps and bounds. They were full of gratitude and reverence for Long Chen. In their hearts, Long Chen was a god. In just 4 months, he had turned them, the trash that no one else had wanted, to the same level as those other geniuses. Their power had not only leaped to an unprecedented level, but they had also used points to get treasures that they had needed. All of them had the best treasure items possible, and some even had leftover points to buy some defensive equipment. That made them all very confident about the competition this time. A pack of country bumpkins. Seeing Long Chen's side in high morale, Kei Xinyan let out a sneer and spat on the ground. He was full of hatred and envy. Pow! Kei Xinyan had only just finished when a thunderous sound rang out. A figure appeared in front of him and slapped him across the face. "How many times have I told you not to dirty the plaza?" said Long Chen coldly. "Intolerable bullying." Fan Song's expression turned hostile. He was standing not far away, and he charged over, smashing a fist toward Long Chen. Powerful rumbling erupted and caused everyone's expressions to change. Long Chen also sent out a punch, and when they collided, the entire plaza rocked. Everyone was shocked by this power. The most shocking thing was that Long Chen and Fan Song had not released any of their auras. In other words, this was just a simple attack. Long Chen's heart shook. Fan Song was truly powerful. This exchange made his wrist slightly numb. Although he had known that Fan Song was a rarely seen body cultivator, Long Chen hadn't expected to still be slightly weaker in terms of physical bodies after advancing 3 realms. Long Chen was shocked, but Fan Song was even more shocked. He was a rank 5 celestial, someone with exceptional talent and power. Moreover, he was a 1-in-1,000-year body cultivator genius. In all his years, he had never encountered anyone who could compete with him in power. Whether it was in the same realm or the realm above, in terms of pure power, he had never met his match. Although Long Chen had displayed great power in his battle against Kei Xinyan, he still didn't consider Long Chen to be a match for him. But in this exchange, they were equally matched. That shocked and infuriated him. This was his specialty, and he should have destroyed him. For them to be equally matched was a loss for him. Fan Song frowned and was just about to start using his real power when an icy voice rang out. "I'm glad you're so energetic." Long Chen and Fan Song hastily fell back. Su Mo once more appeared in the air. He was still covered in blood. Moreover, there was a cut to his shoulder that was so deep that they could see bone. There was some kind of energy trying to corrode his flesh, making his healing speed very slow. "We are at the front fighting a bloody battle, while you are all happy and bored enough to fight amongst yourselves." "Amazing, truly amazing," sneered Suemo, senior apprentice brother Suemo. Shut up." Kei Xinyan had been about to complain when Suemo interrupted him. "I'm not as bored as you, and I don't care about your trifles. Do you realize that while you idle about with your nonsense, people are constantly falling each day to protect you? I didn't know how I was supposed to tell you this before, but seeing how much energy you have, I won't stand on courtesy." His gaze swept over everyone. He continued, "Originally, you should have participated in the competition 3 times to get you used to the fight against the devil beasts. Only then would you be sent to the true battlefield. But you're very unlucky. The past few days, the infernal devil abyss began to grow chaotic, and countless devil beasts have charged through the world barrier to enter the martial heaven continent. The defensive line of the Xiantian Dao sect is under pressure, so the competition this time is cancelled and will be replaced with a true battle. In other words, you will be stepping onto the battlefield of one of the Xiantian Dao sect's strongholds. All your factions will cooperate to defend one stronghold. This is a true battle, and it will be bloody and cruel. But the one thing worth rejoicing about is that the devil beasts appearing in the infernal devil abyss are still under control. There won't be any devil beasts you can't defeat, but you have to know, in a true battle, changes can occur in an instant. Anything is possible. I have nothing to teach you here. You'll need to learn everything on the cruel battlefield. Time is pressing. Keep the bracelets on, because this battle has even greater rewards than last time. Killing 7th rank devil beasts will be worth 1 kill point. 8th rank devil beasts are worth 100 points, and as for 9th rank devil beasts, you shouldn't run into them. You are one team focused on killing your opponents. When the battle is over, you can directly exchange the kill points you have with points in the sect. 1 kill point is worth 1 point. 1 kill point was worth 1 point? All the disciples were delighted. Each 7th rank devil beast they killed was 1 point. Remember, this is not the usual competition. This is a true battle. If anyone flees without orders, even if all the people around them were killed, they will be executed by the sect, said Sumo icily. Everyone's hearts shook. They were no longer disciples in a trial, but soldiers in a battle. Military orders had to be obeyed, with violators being executed. Longchen didn't feel much surprise. The sect had spent so much on training its troops. Eating and drinking what was the Xiantian Dao sect's wasn't free. After taking what was theirs, they had to do work for them. You will be transported to your own defensive zones. Remember, if any devil beasts charge past your zone, not only will all your kill points be cleared, but you will also receive a heavy punishment. After that, the bricks beneath their feet lit up, and each faction was enveloped by countless runes. The runes formed a huge sphere in the air, making sure to envelop each one of them. But they felt the space twist, and then they saw endless darkness. They stayed within this endless darkness for several breaths before the darkness faded, and they appeared on a dusky battlefield. The sky was dull and gloomy, and the sun was nowhere to be found. Blood-colored mist filled the air with a brutal aura. The scent of death was strong. Long Chen and the others appeared in a canyon. The canyon was definitely not natural. It was a pass created by humans. It was 100 miles wide. This was a specially constructed channel, and when Long Chen spread his divine sense, he sensed another channel 1,000 miles away. Between these two channels was a huge and thick wall. The wall was covered in runes and incomparably sturdy. The channel on his right side was guarded by Hua Xiu's Heaven-Female Alliance. On his left side was a precipitous mountain. The huge mountain soared high and spread far into the distance. This mountain was a natural barrier. Behind the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples was a giant stronghold. Long Chen and the others were the final barrier in front of the stronghold. There were 6 channels here, and when the army of devil beasts arrived, they would spread throughout the 6 channels. That scattered their power, which was beneficial for ambushing and stopping them. If the disciples could see further, they would see that their channels were all connected to another huge channel in front of them. At the end of that huge channel was an even larger channel. Each channel had several branches. It was similar to trying to stop a river. When the people at the front were unable to stop the huge devil army, they would let a few of them go through the branches at the end of their passes. Through several layers of checkpoints, if the devil army still couldn't be stopped, then they would be forced to activate the stronghold. This stronghold was the Xiantian Dao sect's strongest defensive measure. Once it was activated, it was unknown how many devil beasts it would be able to kill. The sect had spent an exorbitant amount of manpower and wealth to build it. But such a terrifying stronghold would also cost a terrifying amount of resources to activate. Even the Xiantian Dao sect wasn't willing to use it unless they were forced to. Just using it once would be a grave blow to their core. The Dragonblood warriors felt like a stone was pressing against their hearts upon entering this battlefield. Seeing these grand fortifications as well as the scent of death that hung in the air, no one could remain indifferent. This was the pressure of the battlefield. The more lives that had died, the greater the pressure would be. This kind of mental pressure was nerve-wracking. Form the whirlwind slaughter formation. Take care of the space and distance between you. Don't accidentally attack your own people, or the jokes that will be made about you will never end. Long Chen clapped his hands, drawing his people's attention. They quickly spread out. The whirlwind slaughter formation involved forming groups of 9. It was a very nimble and adaptable formation. They could quickly form up once more, linking up 9 groups of 9 into a larger formation. It was a simple but very practical formation. For over 13,000 people to guard a space around 100 miles wide was very simple. At the sea expansion realm, a single full-strength attack could instantly cover such a distance. At closer range and by compressing the attack, it would make the attack even stronger. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors quickly took their places. Just by busying themselves with taking their positions, they felt the pressure of the battlefield lessen. Don't be so nervous, because that's a very foolish thing. Now that you're on the battlefield, the only thing that matters is strength. If you're strong enough, then the devil beasts in front of you are just points. If you aren't strong enough, then there's even less reason to be worried. You'll definitely die, so why be nervous? Said Long Chen. The Dragonblood Legion's members involuntarily laughed. Seeing how easygoing Long Chen was as he stood at the front of their formation, unaffected by the battlefield's pressure at all, their tense hearts loosened slightly. Other than that, let me give you some good news. Our neighbors are the Heaven Female Alliance's beautiful army. Long Chen's voice suddenly quietened as he said, "Everyone, work hard to show off a man's selling points. Show them how domineering a man should be. If we kill all the devil beasts on our side, we could go to the other side and help them. Hee, you understand? Not only can you get points, but you can also be the hero-saving beauties." Long Chen raised his brows at them with a naughty smile. Tang Wana looked at Long Chen and didn't say anything. She knew he was using this wretched method to encourage people and make them forget their nervousness. Sometimes, a man's desire for such a thing could allow them to explode with unprecedented power. She saw people's passions were ignited. A nice thought. But my Heaven Female Alliance's warriors don't need any stinky men. Don't even think about coming over here to take advantage. Just as the Dragonblood Legion's men had started smiling, Hua Shiyu's icy voice came from the other side of the wall, along with a few maidens' tinkling laughter. Long Chen was struck speechless. Now it was awkward. He had been exposed. The thing that infuriated him the most was that Tang Wana also laughed at him. Suddenly, the ground began to rumble, and all the disciples' expressions changed. The Devil Beast army had arrived. Just a few breaths later, a tide of devil beasts could be seen charging over at them. It was different from the trial and competition. There were all kinds of devil beasts now. Although their bodies weren't huge, their auras were very tyrannical. Furthermore, some of these devil beasts were stronger than the others. Black runes covered their bodies, and that powerful pressure was clearly the aura of 8th rank devil beasts. The 8th rank for devil beasts was equivalent to human cultivators' foundation forging realm. They were very powerful. As the endless devil beasts rushed over, the ground constantly shook. As they got closer, people saw that some devil beasts were like apes that had grown fangs, some were like crocodiles in human form, and some only had limbs with no head. It was unknown what they were. Even from dozens of miles away, they could smell the scent of decay and death pouring over them. It was no wonder this place was called the Infernal Devil Abyss. It was like they were facing devils from hell. Brothers, get ready to work. Guoran, you're in charge of directing people. Call out people to kill the 8th rank devil beasts that slip by. Tang Wana, Gu Yang, Li Qi, and Song Mingyuan, follow behind me as the first line of defense. Everyone else, the small fish will be left to you. Long Chen waved a hand, and a huge flame dragon flew out. Its flame runes were blood-colored, and when it opened its mouth, a flame meteor shot out at the devil beasts. Boom! Flames exploded, devouring any devil beast struck. 7th rank devil beasts were instantly turned to dregs, and a dozen 8th rank devil beasts were also struck and let out ear-piercing cries. Although they didn't immediately die, they were heavily injured. Hua Long turned, and with a flick of its tail, it blew apart those burning 8th rank devil beasts. It flew to the very front. When the disciples in the other passes saw how powerful it was, they were completely shocked. Only one person had flames about to shoot out of his eyes. That person was Kei Xinyan. The strength of Long Chen's flame dragon was entirely because of him. 3 of his earth flames had been devoured by it. The other 5 factions also took action. Hua Xiu was surrounded by flying flower petals, and the devil beasts all exploded upon contact. Even 8th rank devil beasts were unable to resist. What a terrifying woman. Those flower petals definitely contained some kind of secret, or they couldn't possibly be so sharp. Long Chen was shocked by this power. He didn't sense any elemental energy within those petals, but their sharpness surpassed even treasure items. As Hua Xiu displayed her power, she slaughtered masses of devil beasts at the very front. Only a portion of them avoided her blockade and attacked the people behind her. But behind her was Zhao Ziyan, and she directed the female warriors to attack the devil beasts. Everything was under control, and they weren't panicked at all. On the other side of Hua Xiu was Wang Zhen's 10,000 Insect Guild. Wang Zhen was also displaying his terrifying power. It was unknown when exactly he had raised this many insects, but he had all his disciples retreat. Using just a huge army of insects, he formed a death trap at the entrance to his channel. All kinds of shelled insects appeared on the ground. Those insects were constantly spitting out poison from their mouths, and any devil beasts touched by it would instantly begin to corrode and let out wails. In the air, there were countless 3-meter-long bee-like insects. They shot out long stingers from their tails that pierced through the devil beasts. After the devil beasts were struck by the poison, these stingers instantly caused their bodies to explode like rotten flesh. Once the devil beasts were killed, countless pincer insects would crawl out of the ground and devour their corpses. There weren't just 3 types of insects. There were all kinds, some acting as bait, some acting as shields, some launching sneak attacks. It was a true endless army of insects. The insect army had essentially blocked the entrance to the pass, and the 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples basically didn't need to do anything. So they just watched. On the other side, the Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gate had also attacked. The thing that startled Long Chen was that Kei Xinyan had a new commodity. He had summoned a huge flame ape, and the fluctuations from its flames were very powerful. It was actually not weaker than the Scarlet Blood Flame. In fact, its ranking might even surpass it slightly. Kei Xinyan stood at the head of his flame ape as it constantly attacked the devil beasts. But the only thing he was staring at was the distant Long Chen. His eyes were full of rancor. Long Chen coldly looked at him. A faint sneer appeared on his face. Was this idiot about to send him more food? On Long Chen's side, Hua Long was at the very front, incinerating any devil beasts near it. After devouring 3 earth flames and Luo Bo's pill flame, it had undergone a complete transformation. The current flame dragon had reached a level of control over its power that even shocked Long Chen. Its control was equal to an alchemist controlling their flame during a pill refinement. Each bit of power was used perfectly without the slightest waste. Is this the result of devouring Luo Bo's pill flame? It also absorbed his flame control experience? Seeing how unstoppable Hua Long was, Long Chen was pleasantly surprised. Hua Long's power surpassed his expectations. Behind Hua Long were Tang Wan'er, Gu Yang, Song Mingyuan, and Li Qi. They had formed one long defensive line. Tang Wan'er's wind blades along with Song Mingyuan and Li Qi's earthen spears were both large area attacks. The majority of the devil beasts that got past Hua Long were killed by them. As for Gu Yang, he had no large area attacks. He focused on the 8th rank devil beasts that got by, not letting them charge into the formation behind him. Through these layers of obstructions, the number of devil beasts that reached the Dragonblood Legion was not high. Furthermore, they were all 7th rank. With 9 people in a team, their formations moved out, forming sharp blades that cut through them. From the air, this channel was a land of death for the devil beasts. The formations were like meat grinders. As they moved, the devil beasts were torn apart. Black blood and flesh flew through the air. It was miserable and bloody, but these devil beasts didn't seem to have any fear of death. They continued to crazily charge forward even as they saw their companions being killed. Within the entire Dragonblood Legion, Long Chen was the most leisurely one. He was squatting on the ground, studying a devil beast's head that had just been cut off. That devil beast's teeth were as sharp as a treasure item. Black lines covered in the teeth that emitted the aura of death. This was a special aura, and once bitten, it would invade your body. Even Heavenly Tao energy had trouble erasing it, so being injured by a devil beast was a very troublesome matter. Long Chen snapped off one of its half-a-foot-long teeth and carefully examined its aura. For some unknown reason, he felt another very familiar aura within its sinister aura. Suddenly, an 8th-rank devil beast broke past Gu Yang's blockade. Guoran was just about to shoot it with his golden crossbow when Long Chen flung out the tooth. It pierced straight through the devil beast's head. It only possesses a berserk will and has no spiritual fluctuations. In other words, it has no intelligence. It only has desires but has no fear of death. How curious! As that 8th-rank devil beast died, Long Chen locked onto it with his spiritual strength to see what it would feel during death. It was a very strange life form. It had to be known that any creature would feel innate fear toward danger and death. But these devil beasts didn't. They didn't even have spiritual fluctuations. If they didn't have bodies of flesh, Long Chen would suspect that they were puppets made to kill people. Puppets, they really are like puppets. Long Chen's eyes brightened. These devil beasts were just like a kind of puppet. Their attacks were practically instinctual, and that was the basic nature of a puppet. Long Chen reached into the devil beast's chest and pulled out a black stone. The stone was the size of a baby's fist, and it was covered in lines that were like wriggling centipedes. It looked very evil. But he also sensed another kind of energy fluctuations within this stone. He suddenly cried out, "These are Yuan energy fluctuations." It's practically the same as the fluctuations from Yuan spirit stones. Long Chen couldn't help being dumbfounded. These devil beasts could produce Yuan spirit stones? That had to be nonsense. Yuan spirit stones were mined. How could devil beast cores become Yuan spirit stones? When he carefully sensed it, he found that only a small amount of the devil beast core's energy was Yuan spiritual energy. The energy inside was complicated. The Yuan spiritual energy only made up 1/10 of its energy. The remaining 90% was a berserk, dark kind of energy, and that kind of energy was poison to cultivators. There was no way to extract the Yuan spiritual energy like this, so there was no way to use this stone. After studying it a bit longer, Long Chen stopped and began to pay attention to the Dragonblood Legion's battle. "Haha, I've made 375 points, cried out a Dragonmark warrior as he excitedly killed the devil beasts. It had just been less than 2 hours since the battle had begun, but an ordinary inner sect disciple had made 375 points. That was like striking gold. Working 2 hours here was worth more than 3 months of rations. It was no wonder he would be so excited. After all, these were the points he had earned with his own power. What's so amazing about 300 points? I'm already at 500, but did you see me say anything? Shouted one of the Dragonblood warriors. Do you think you're quiet? If you shout a bit louder, I bet people would be able to hear your excitement all the way to the eastern wasteland. Roared one of the Dragonblood warriors beside him. His ears were ringing from that person's shouting. Head Gu Yang, what are you at? Asked a Dragonblood warrior. 27, replied Gu Yang. 27? Impossible. Wait, as in thousands? 10 of thousands? Everyone was startled. Gu Yang, who was just in charge of the 8th rank devil beasts that got past, had already reached over 200,000 points. Then wouldn't Tang Waner be at over 1 million? Long Chen looked at his bracelet and saw that he had reached 3,270,000 points. Hua Long was incredibly powerful, unrivaled in alchemy and battle. It was unknown what secret technique the Xiantian Dao sect was using so that the devil beasts killed by Hua Long were counted by his bracelet. Hey, can you focus? Or are you going to chat until the day ends? Sister Wan, these brothers are getting lazy out of boredom. Let a few more points come by. Cried Guoran. Guoran saw that these brats were getting too arrogant. Having forgotten their fear, their confidence ended up inflating. It was time to give them some more work so they would get a bit tense. Tangwana reduced her attack range slightly. As a result, a huge swarm of devil beasts charged past. The Dragon Mark warriors roared and started a slaughter. After discarding their fear, after putting down their nervousness, after being led through multiple battles by the Dragon Blood warriors, the Dragon Mark warriors had finally found the feeling of a battle. The difference between them and the Dragon Blood warriors was rapidly shrinking. Long Chen's side had it extremely easy, while the other factions were about the same. However, the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall had both already expanded their attack range. They were unwilling to just guard their channel. Yen Machin, Han Yunshan, and Wei Changhai had charged forward 100 miles and were slaughtering any devil beast in sight. "Fuck, how despicable. They're fighting over our points," raged Guoran. The three of them had charged to the front, interfering with Dragonblood Legion's share of devil beasts. As a result, the number of devil beasts reaching their channel had dropped a great deal. Those three were taking this opportunity to snatch their points. However, not every faction had the ability to send people out to the front. Only the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall were both able to guard their channels safely after sending them out. In truth, Hua Shiyu's side also had the power to send out Zhao Ziyan. But Hua Shiyu didn't do that. Instead, she continued according to their original rhythm. As for the 10,000 Insect Guild, when Wang Zhen saw that Long Chen wasn't doing anything, he seemed to also realize something. If he continued killing all the devil beasts himself, his people wouldn't have anything to do. He opened a path to allow a few devil beasts to get by for his subordinates. "Boss, do you want to go out as well?" Guoran was irritated that those three would snatch their points like this. "Do you think I'm as stupid as them? If even Su Mo was beaten into such a miserable state, do you think this mission would be this easy? Even an idiot would be able to tell this is just time for us to adapt." Soon, more powerful devil beasts will be released to our side. If they want to be stupid, let them. "Let's see how long they're capable of being so stupid," said Long Chen. As expected, not long after, people sensed something was wrong. The number of the devil beasts was still the same, but the proportion of 8th rank devil beasts was increasing. In the beginning, only one 8th rank devil beast would appear amongst over 2,000. But now, there was one every 1,000 devil beasts. Their proportion had doubled. As soon as that happened, the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall's sides became unsteady. Several 8th rank devil beasts got past Hugishin's blockade and reached his faction behind him, causing great chaos. Although those devil beasts were eventually subdued, dozens of disciples had been killed under their attacks. Hu Guishan and Fan Song immediately called the three of them back. In their panic, their formations became unsteady, and over 100 of their people died, causing their faces to turn green with fury. This was a typical case of trying to steal a chicken only to lose the rice used to lure it. In order to get a few more points, so many of their people had died. It was completely not worth it. On the contrary, the other factions' blockades were still completely steady. Although the number of 8th rank devil beasts was increasing, their formations didn't become chaotic and no casualties appeared. Meanwhile, Hu Guishan and Fan Song felt like they had been slapped in the face. More and more 8th rank devil beasts were appearing. The Dragonblood Legion's formations switched once more. The Dragonmark warriors fell back while the Dragonblood warriors advanced. More and more devil beasts were getting by, and the Dragonblood warriors began to join in on killing the 8th rank devil beasts. They also occasionally let an 8th rank devil beast get by for the Dragonmark warriors to experience their power. But they would always call out a warning before letting one get by so that they would be prepared. Only once the Dragonmark warriors got used to it and were no longer afraid of the 8th rank devil beasts did they truly allow 8th rank devil beasts to get by. Now the Dragonmark warriors had also joined in on the fight against the 8th rank devil beasts. After another 2 hours, the number of 8th rank devil beasts had increased once more. Now one would appear around every 500 devil beasts. The other factions all found it taxing now. Casualties were starting to appear, and they no longer had it as easy as before. They finally understood that this was a true battlefield, not a trial. However, Long Chen still didn't do anything. He stood in the air, overlooking the Dragonblood Legion. To him, the battle had only truly just started. Now was the true time to temper the Dragon Blood Legion. Suddenly, a furious roar rang out in the distance, and a terrifying pressure descended, causing everyone's expressions to change. That was a 30-meter devil beast with an ox head and rodent body. It was covered in fine veined patterns, and there was a long tail growing out of its back. Its roar caused the sky to shake, and a terrifying pressure crashed down upon them, making everyone's hair stand on end. 9th-rank devil beast, it's definitely a 9th-rank devil beast. Didn't they say no 9th-rank devil beasts would appear? Everyone turned pale with fright. That was an existence on par with a king. As the 9th-rank devil beast charged over, it knocked aside any 7th and 8th-rank devil beasts in its path. The ground trembled as it moved. Long Chen's expression was serious. He flew to the front of the Dragon Blood Legion. At the same time, Hua Shiyu, Wang Zhen, Hu Gushan, Fan Song, and Kei Xinyan also appeared at the front of their factions, their guards raised. There was only one 9th-rank devil beast, but there were 6 channels. Therefore, there was a 1 in 6 chance of it coming toward them. It would be up to luck. Each channel was equally big, and was thinner at the entrance before widening. The 9th-rank devil beast would only be able to go down one of them at a time. Everyone was nervous. That was a 9th-rank devil beast. If it charged into any faction, there would definitely be immense casualties. It rapidly advanced, crossing hundreds of miles in practically an instant. As it rushed over, Tang Wan'er and the others' expressions changed. That 9th-rank devil beast was charging directly for the Dragon Blood Legion's channel. Once they saw which direction it was going, the other factions sighed with relief. The Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gates people had smiles on their faces, rejoicing in their misfortune. Long Chen let me handle it. Tang Wan'er's aura began to rise as wind blades revolved around her. With your power, handling it should be no problem. But you'd need some time. Let me do it. It'll be good to raise morale, said Long Chen. Do you need help? Just as Long Chen was about to attack, unexpectedly, the neighboring Hua Shiyu offered her assistance. Thank you. When I can't handle things, I'll definitely ask for your help. Long Chen smiled and declined. The wings behind him flapped, and he shot out like a bolt of lightning at the 9th-rank devil beast. All the Dragon Blood Legion's members' hearts clenched. That was a terrifying 9th-rank devil beast. Despite knowing that Long Chen was incredibly powerful, they were still worried. Buzz. The rushing 9th-rank devil beast saw Long Chen, and countless black lines lit up on its body. It opened its mouth, shooting out a black beam at Long Chen. Thunder rang out around Long Chen, and he suddenly shot to the side, dodging the black beam. The beam ended up striking against the wall of the channel, and the world trembled intensely. Quite a few people were thrown into the air by its power. However, the wall was fine. Instead, it was the nearby devil beasts that were blown apart by that attack. It caused everyone's scalps to turn numb. It was truly worthy of being a 9th-rank devil beast on par with a king. This attack was enough to instantly kill any of them. Long Chen continued to dodge as he advanced, not giving the 9th-rank devil beast any chance to aim at him. As he pushed the lightning body blink to its peak, in just a few flashes, he appeared in front of it. The 9th-rank devil beast sent out a huge claw. As Long Chen dodged it, a long tail suddenly whipped toward him. Long Chen leaped into the air, just narrowly avoiding it. Lightly stomping on the tail, he flipped over to its back. His little hops were done very cleanly and efficiently, amazing people. The terrifying 9th-rank devil beast's attacks were only dodged by a hair's breadth by Long Chen. It was incredibly dangerous. But Long Chen's expression was still indifferent despite that danger. It was like he was intentionally cooperating with the 9th-rank devil beast to put on a thrilling show. Once he jumped onto its back, a blood-colored saber appeared in Long Chen's hands. Split the heavens too. A blood-colored saber image slashed down, dazzling people's eyes. The 9th-rank devil beast's head flew high into the air, its black blood spurting all over. Even once it was beheaded, it didn't stop. Its headless body's momentum carried it forward for dozens of miles. It practically reached the Dragonblood Legion before it finally came to a stop. Long Chen arrived on top of it. Standing on it, he took on a victory pose for the Dragonblood Legion. Just at this moment, a large head fell from the sky and landed right in front of the corpse as if it had been trying to land there on purpose. It was right in front of the 9th rank Devil Beast's neck. "Boss is mighty." Following a moment of deathly silence, the Dragonblood Legion burst into thunderous cheering. A 9th rank Devil Beast had been killed with a single blow from someone at the Sea Expansion realm. Who else was capable of such a thing? If Long Chen had used his full power to kill it, that would be one thing. But Long Chen hadn't even released his aura. It had just been a single, easy slash of his saber. It was like he hadn't killed a terrifying 9th rank Devil Beast, but a rabbit. It had been so simple, so easy. This shocked everyone. Tang Wana looked at Long Chen worshipfully. She liked it the most when Long Chen displayed his domineering side. Even Hua Shiyu's eyes shone. Long Chen's attack had just been that stunning. He had just displayed the true essence of battle tactics, using the smallest price to get the biggest return. In truth, as soon as Long Chen had seen the 9th rank Devil Beast, he had determined from its body build that it was a power-type existence. Its agility was very weak. So while he had been rushing toward it, he had been accumulating power the entire time, all to create an opportunity to kill it in one blow. If it was effective enough, just one attack was enough. This attack had seemed simple, but in reality, it was a display of Long Chen's true combat powers. It required sharp vision, accurate judgment, great control over power, and most importantly, absolute confidence. If this attack hadn't managed to kill it, the 9th rank Devil Beast would have charged through the Dragonblood Legion. That was also why this one flawless attack made people feel even more excited and passionate. 9th rank Devil Beasts aren't as frightening as you think. During a battle, the most important thing is your observation skills. As long as you can grasp your opponent's fatal weakness, they are like cabbage waiting for you to harvest. "Everyone, continue killing," said Long Chen, jumping off the corpse. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors roared and attacked all out. Long Chen's attack had raised their morale to an unprecedented height. They felt like their bodies were full of energy, so much so that if they didn't go all out attacking, their energy would cause their bodies to explode. What a handsome attack! An amazing saber, and an even more amazing man. It was unknown how many maidens in the Heaven Female Alliance were starstruck by this attack. To a woman, such a domineering display possessed a fatal attraction. To the cultivation world's women, the more domineering the man, the more moving they would be. And Long Chen's domineering side was different from other people's. He never displayed it intentionally. It would just spontaneously reveal itself. It was normally hidden in his bones, or even in his soul. "Don't get distracted on the battlefield like love-struck fools," chided Hua Shiyu. But that attack really was handsome. Even Zhao Ziyan couldn't help but sigh emotionally. "You." Hua Shiyu glared at her. Zhao Ziyan stuck out her tongue and didn't say any more. While Long Chen's attack had stunned everyone, some people were also envious and uneasy. After killing the 9th rank Devil Beast, Long Chen extracted a crystal core from its chest. He sensed vast Yuan spiritual energy. The Yuan spiritual energy inside this core was hundreds of times stronger than the one from the 8th rank Devil Beast. It was almost equivalent to gaining a Yuan spirit stone. But just like the last core, the Yuan spiritual energy only took up 1/10 of its total energy. The rest was useless energy that was completely entangled with it. It would be very difficult to extract. Thinking of Yuan spirit stones, Long Chen smiled. Those were priceless treasures to foundation forging disciples. And he had over 1 billion of them. Originally, Long Chen had been thinking of selling a few to Zheng Wenlong for some resources, but before he had gone through with that plan, the Dragonblood Legion's wealth had soared. It was best to use the Yuan spirit stones for himself. As time passed, the Devil Beast's numbers increased, and now 1/10 of them were at the 8th rank. The proportion was only growing, and all the factions were starting to find it taxing. Some factions had already started to have casualties. Despite the elites of the factions doing their best to slaughter the devil beasts, there were just too many of them. There was no way to protect everyone, and quite a few comparatively weaker disciples ended up dying. The Flame Gate had the highest number of casualties. From the start of the battle until now, over 700 of their disciples had died. One reason was because they only had one rank 5 celestial, and the other reason was that their leader, Kei Xinyan, had no leadership abilities. Their formations were stiff and rigid. Casualties had also appeared in the Heaven Female Alliance. However, there weren't that many. Hua Shiyu's flower petals covered a shockingly large area, and on her own, she blocked over half the attacks of the devil beasts. But one person's strength didn't represent that their collective strength was great. There were still areas she couldn't look after. The only ones that had maintained a 0 casualty count were the Dragonblood Legion and the 10,000 Insect Guild. But although no humans had died in the 10,000 Insect Guild, casualties had appeared in Wang Zhen's insect army. He was also starting to find it difficult. Long Chun constantly paid attention to the Dragonblood Legion, and everything was still well under control. Guoran was directing them from the air. Thus, for now, there was no danger. However, the pressure on them was extremely great now. But at the same time, what Long Chen wanted was that pressure. The new Dragonmark warriors still needed to experience this kind of life and death battle to temper their sharp points. Etchem, the number of devil beasts is dropping? Is this the end? Long Chen saw that the devil beasts' numbers were truly starting to drop. Suddenly, the ground trembled and huge figures rushed over. Seeing that, even Long Chen's expression changed. Change formations. Heaven-Earth Crane Wing Formation. Long Chen's expression changed and he hastily shouted. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors didn't even think. With Long Chen at the head, they formed a huge two-winged formation. This was their strongest defensive formation. Everyone saw dozens of huge figures in the Devil Beast army. They were all 9th rank Devil Beasts. After Long Chen had killed the first 9th rank Devil Beast, 2 more had appeared successively. They had been killed by Fan Song and Hua Shiyu. Although the 2 of them had managed to kill the Devil Beasts, they didn't have Long Chen's accurate judgment and were unable to kill it in one easy blow. They had been forced to go all out to kill their targets. When Long Chen had killed his, it had felt like it was over before it had started. But Hua Shiyu and Fan Song had both gone all out, causing everyone to be aware of how terrifying 9th rank Devil Beasts were. Other than rank 5 Celestials, none of them could block them. Now that 70 to 89th rank Devil Beasts had appeared at once, everyone's expressions changed. There was basically no way for them to survive this. Yen Machin. Seeing this many of them, Hu Gishin's expression changed several times before he suddenly cast a special glance at Yen Machin. Yen Machin instantly understood Hu Gishin's intention. He hesitated slightly, but after looking at the distant Long Chen, a ruthless light appeared in his eyes, and then he disappeared. The mass of 9th rank Devil Beasts charged forward. There were no longer any more Devil Beasts behind them. Suddenly, a huge earthen wall appeared. But those Devil Beasts instantly slammed their way through it. That huge earthen wall was as weak as paper in front of 9th rank Devil Beasts. There was no effect at all. Has Yen Machin gone crazy? He's blocking all the 9th rank Devil Beasts on his own. Everyone saw a figure rapidly retreating at the front. Yen Machin was hastily forming hand seals, forming earthen walls one after another that were rapidly blown apart by the Devil Beasts. As a result, these Devil Beasts were drawn over to Yen Machin and targeted him. Yen Machin retreated as he repeatedly formed barriers. Killing intent exploded out of Long Chen. Yen Machin, if you dare to harm us, I, Long Chen, swear that whether you ascend to the heavens or flee to hell, I will still kill you. Following Long Chen's furious shout, Hua Shiyu and Wang Zhen's expressions also changed. Yen Machin was retreating straight toward Long Chen. He was clearly drawing the Devil Beasts over to him to exterminate the Dragonblood Legion. Hee, Long Chen, I'm helping you stall for time, but you treat me like this? Then fine, we can just handle our own sides. Yen Machin suddenly sneered and disappeared from the ground. A rune flowed across the earth, returning to the Hegemon Hall. Yen Machin had used an earth evasion technique to escape. Those 9th rank devil beasts lost their target and roared. With furious roars, they charged right toward Long Chen's channel. Because there were so many of them, a portion also scattered through the other channels. But the Dragonblood Legion was facing the main force, with almost half the 9th rank devil beasts coming to them. Long Chen's side had 35 9th rank devil beasts charging at them, while the neighboring Hua Shiyu was also unlucky. 16 of the devil beasts had gone to her side, and icy killing intent shone in her eyes. Of the remaining 4 channels, the closest channel guarded by Wang Jin had to deal with 9 of them. It was unknown whether it was because they were intimidated by the insect army, but those devil beasts preferred to spread to the other channels. Hu Gushan, Fan Song, and Kei Xinyan charged to the front of their channels, doing their best to kill the 9th rank devil beasts. Behind them, Yen Machin, Han Yunshan, Wei Changhai, and the other peak experts also attacked. These 3 factions had gathered practically all the peak experts from the 4 outer regions. Other than Yen Machin, Han Yunshan, and Wei Changhai, there had also been 2 other rank 5 celestials who had been recruited. Although they were not innate rank 5 celestials, they were much stronger than rank 4 celestials. These 3 factions possessed the highest number of peak experts, and they were facing less than 30 devil beasts in total, making it so they were under the least pressure. Guoran, don't keep holding back. Bring out your killing weapon, shouted Long Chen. Guoran clenched his teeth and took out a huge crossbow the size of a war chariot. Its body was dark red and covered in runes. As soon as it appeared, it smashed a hole in the ground. Guoran was unable to hold it on his own. He quickly took out a golden spear with a Yuan spirit stone embedded in it and set it on the crossbow. Buzz! Guoran pulled the trigger. A golden light flew out at the 9th rank devil beasts. Boom! The spear exploded once it reached the 9th rank devil beasts, its body transforming into sharp fragments that pierced through the 9 rank devil beast's flesh. A rain of blood erupted. A month's work for just a bang. Guoran's heart was dripping blood. This was a new weapon he had just created. Only Long Chen had known about it, and he hadn't even tried using it before. Those fragments were so sharp that even the flesh of 9th rank devil beasts was unable to resist it. However, such small fragments were also not able to kill 9th rank devil beasts with their huge bodies. But the power behind this explosion had caused the charging 9th rank devil beasts to slow down for a moment. That was exactly what Long Chen had wanted. Raging Flame Prison. Long Chen formed hand seals, and countless flame chains appeared in the air, enveloping all those 9th rank devil beasts. At the same time, a sacred light came from Long Chen's face as he began to chant a scripture that resounded with heaven and earth. It was like gods were chanting along with him. Heaven and earth's flame energy surged toward the flame chains. Long Chen also used all of Hualong's power to condense this flame prison. He made it as strong as possible. More chains continuously appeared. Back when he had used this move in the eastern wasteland, the flame chains had only been the width of an arm. But now they were already as thick as a person's waist. As the chanting of the Nirvana scripture filled the air, the chains continued to grow, and the flame energy also grew stronger. The 9th rank devil beasts crazily attacked the raging flame prison. Intense rumbling sounded, but they were unable to shake the flame prison. Hualong, squeeze out all your power. Flame prison death blow. Long Chen ordered Hualong not to hold back. His own spiritual yuan poured forth. The huge flame prison immediately trembled. The world seemed to lose all its sound, as if time had frozen. The flame prison suddenly shrank, compressing all the 9th rank devil beasts into a 3-meter ball. Then the flame prison exploded. Long Chen's hands also exploded, turning into lumps of flesh, and he vomited blood. Hualong's current power was too great, and after being amplified by the Nirvana scripture, the flame energy had far surpassed what the magical art was able to bear. Thus, Long Chen received a heavy backlash. Fortunately, all the 9th rank devil beasts had been killed. However, Hualong had also been heavily injured and would be unable to move for a short time. After killing all the 9th rank devil beasts, Long Chen looked back to see that Tang Wan'er and the others had already charged over to Hua Shiyu's faction, helping her with the devil beasts. Long Chen took a deep breath and also rushed over. Hua Shiyu's face was currently as pale as paper. She had previously used a forbidden technique to kill 8 ninth-rank devil beasts. That had caused her to suffer heavy internal injuries, but she clenched her teeth and continued to fight. The Heaven Female Alliance was taking huge casualties. These ninth-rank devil beasts simply weren't something they could handle. Tang Wan, Gu Yang, and an armored Guoran were each fighting against one ninth-rank devil beast on their own. Li Qi and Song Mingyuan were circulating the Earth's energy to protect the Heaven Female Alliance's people to avoid even greater casualties. Blood-colored light flashed. One of the 2 devil beasts that Hua Shiyu was fighting was killed with a slash from Long Chen's saber. "Thank you." Hua Shiyu's eyes were slightly red. If it hadn't been for the Dragon Blood Legion, there might no longer be a Heaven Female Alliance. "Quickly kill them." Long Chen had already charged over to the 9th-rank devil beast that was forcing Song Mingyuan and Li Qi to repeatedly retreat. The 2 of them had already activated their spirit blood and were doing their best to protect everyone. But it still wasn't enough. Seeing that their defenses were about to break, Long Chen hastily slashed his saber. Blood-colored light filled the sky and then disappeared. The Heaven Female Alliance's disciples couldn't help but be stunned. That huge 9th-rank devil beast's body slowly split apart. Through that crack, they saw a wild and domineering figure that was charging at another 9th-rank devil beast. Long Chen found that although these devil beasts' offensive power was extremely great, they had no intelligence. As long as someone was capable of blocking them from the front, a sneak attack from one of their blind spots was fatal. They could be killed in one blow. Long Chen killed 3 of them, while Hua Shiyu killed hers and went to assist Tang Wan. All the devil beasts were quickly handled. The battlefield descended into a deathly silence. Hua Shiyu looked over the Heaven Female Alliance. In just an instant, thousands of her sisters had died. Killing intent raged in her eyes. "I'm going to kill people. Do you want to come?" asked Long Chen. "Let's go." Hua Shiyu clenched her teeth. "All of you just stay here. Don't move," ordered Long Chen to the Dragon Blood Legion. Walking side by side with Hua Shiyu, he looked toward the 3 factions. They were also icily staring back at them. With his blood-colored saber resting on his shoulder, Long Chen walked over directly to Hu Guishan and the others with Hua Shiyu. His eyes were both calm. Those familiar with Long Chen knew that this calm represented that his killing intent had reached a peak. There was no longer any need for him to suppress it, because he was about to kill people. "Yen Mochen, come out and face your death." Long Chen's killing intent caused space to twist around him. It was like the arrival of a death god. "Long Chen, do you think you can arrogantly kill my people? Do you think you have the qualifications?" sneered Hu Guishan. "I'm going to kill. Those who block me will die," replied Long Chen icily. His footsteps didn't stop. His aura was continuously rising. "Haha, then let's see how you try to kill me," laughed Fan Song. Hu Guishan, Fan Song, Kei Xinyan, Yen Mochen, Wei Changhai, Han Yunshan, and the other 2 rank 5 celestials all stood at the front. 8 powerful experts stared coldly at Long Chen and Hua Shiyu. "I'm about to start. Take care," said Long Chen to Hua Shiyu. Suddenly, a 4-colored divine ring emerged behind him, and 4 stars appeared in his eyes. Green Dragon Battle Armor. Scales covered Long Chen's body, and his aura erupted like a volcano, causing heaven and earth to rumble and astral winds to rage. A blood-colored saber image tore through the sky and slashed down at the 8 of them. Hu Guishan and the others were startled. They had thought that with their absolute superiority, Long Chen and Hua Shiyu wouldn't dare to fight them. The power difference was too great, and they thought the 2 of them were just putting on a show. But this attack from Long Chen had no mercy, no leeway. The killing intent within this attack could cause ghosts to sob and gods to weep. He was truly trying to kill them. Flower sea buries the heavens. At the same time as Long Chen, Hua Shiyu also attacked. An endless sea of flower petals condensed into a huge ring. That ring began to rapidly spin, acting as a huge circular blade that tore through the void toward them. Hu Guishan's body suddenly grew, and black hair covered him. his teeth became sharp, and he instantly transformed into a huge devil ape. No one had thought that Huguishan was a beast cultivator, as he had never revealed this beast-merging art before. He was now a 6-meter devil ape, and he smashed a fist forward. At the same time, Fansong attacked. His blood chi erupted, and punching with Huguishan, they blocked Hua Xiu and Long Chen's attacks. In their opinion, if too many of them fought, it would make them appear weaker. What they wanted was to force the two of them back in the fairest manner. Boom. The 4 attacks crashed together. What? Astral winds erupted, but that wasn't what caused the shocked cry. The shocked cry had come from someone who suddenly noticed that a person carrying a saber had appeared right beside him. The person who cried out was Han Yunshan. He was arrogantly standing with his hands clasped behind his back, eagerly waiting to see how Long Chen was humiliated. He hadn't thought that Long Chen would bypass Huguishan without anyone noticing him. Ice Frost Shield dash. His ice shield had only just begun to appear when Long Chen's saber reached his body. He was blown to bloody mist. When the astral winds finally faded, everyone just managed to see a blood-colored flash as Han Yunshan was killed. Seeing that, it felt like the world had become still. Han Yunshan, a generation's heavenly genius, a rank 5 celestial who had awakened the ability to merge with heaven and earth, someone with overflowing battle power, was killed in one blow by Long Chen. Furthermore, the power within Long Chen's saber had also destroyed Han Yunshan's soul. There was no chance of any revival for him. Courting death. Huguishan roared furiously and smashed a fist toward Long Chen. At the same time, Kei Xinyan's flame blade slashed over. But Long Chen ignored their attacks. As soon as he had killed Han Yunshan, he slashed his saber at a tricky angle toward a shocked Wei Changhai. Wei Changhai was horrified. The feeling of death instantly filled his heart. He didn't even have the courage to block. Water chi appeared around him, and he rapidly retreated. Bang! Just at this moment, Kei Xinyan and Huguishan's attacks arrived. But they didn't reach Long Chen. They were blocked by a petal shield from Hua Xiu. No! A miserable cry rang out. In the distance, Wei Changhai was entangled by a lightning dragon and unable to move. A blood-colored saber stabbed through his back and out his chest. Die! Berserk power exploded out of Blood Drinker, and Wei Changhai's body was blown apart. Another rank 5 celestial was killed. Long Chen put away Lei Long and vanished. Like a phantom, he rushed back toward Huguishan and the others. This goddamn madman. Huguishan was infuriated. He was sure Long Chen was a madman. He really did dare to kill people, and not just anyone. He was killing the top heavenly geniuses raised by the Shantian Dao sect. He had signed his own death sentence. Long Chen, that's about enough, shouted Hua Xiu. In the beginning, when she had said she would kill people with Long Chen, she had just been venting. She hadn't really thought of killing anyone. But now, after 2 people were killed, there were no signs of Long Chen stopping. Now she was a bit panicked. If you're afraid, you can go. You might be fine with your sisters dying for nothing, but my brothers can't die for nothing. Long Chen ignored Hua Xiu. Because of helping out the Heaven Female Alliance, 7 Dragon Mark warriors had died. Long Chen didn't regret that the Dragon Blood Legion had gone to help the Heaven Female Alliance, nor did he blame them. Each member of the Dragon Blood Legion was a hot-blooded man, and they definitely wouldn't just watch as weak women were butchered in front of them. If they did, they wouldn't be fit to be warriors of the Dragon Blood Legion. But their deaths had been because of a certain idiot. That idiot would have to pay the price. Provoked by Long Chen's words, Hua Xiu clenched her teeth. Seeing that Long Chen had already attacked, her flower petals condensed into a spear that pierced toward Huguishan. Boom! Huguishan blocked Hua Xiu's attack with a punch. But Hua Xiu's flower petals contained runes that possessed some kind of strange energy. He was knocked back. Hua Xiu, you've also gone mad. Do you want to die with him? Roared Huguishan. But Hua Xiu ignored him. An unhealthy redness appeared on her beautiful face, and 2 runes suddenly lit up within her eyes. The flower petals suddenly seemed to come alive. They formed a huge dragon that attacked Huguishan. Despite her condition, Hua Xiyu had decided to use her forbidden technique once more. Boom! Hu Guishan was forced back once again and coughed up blood. Hua Xiyu's terrifying petal dragon was incredibly powerful. He was horrified, not expecting Hua Xiyu to be so powerful. She was clearly exhausted but still able to unleash such power. Seeing that Hu Guishan was unable to block the next attack, Fan Song suddenly took his place to block it. But although he managed to block it with a punch, blood dripped down his hand and he was also knocked back. With Fan Song's assistance, Hu Guishan gained some breathing room. Working together, they managed to block Hua Xiyu. They couldn't bother any longer about the others. At this time, Long Chen was fighting intensely against Kei Xinyan, Yan Machin, and the two rank 5 celestials. Yan Machin's earth giant was destroyed in an instant by Long Chen, and he was no longer able to summon it for a moment. He could only rely on fleeing through the ground to avoid him. Long Chen forced back Kei Xinyan's flame blade and suddenly used his shoulder to receive a rank 5 celestial sword. That sword pierced his shoulder, but just as that disciple was surprised by this, Long Chen's saber slashed through his head. This was using an injury to exchange for a life. Long Chen was used to doing this. Although they were rank 5 celestials, and although he had heavily injured himself by using the Raging Flame Prison at full power, just with his battle experience, he could easily crush them. Another heavenly genius was killed, leaving behind only Kei Xinyan, Yan Machin, and another rank 5 celestial. They were all intimidated now. Just as they were hesitating over whether to continue fighting or run, Long Chen took advantage of that hesitation to raise Blood Drinker to the sky. He activated the 27 divine runes in his acupuncture points. Compared to the first and second forms of Split the Heavens, using the third form required a short cast time at his current power level. Although it wasn't as long as the Raging Flame Prison, such a short time could be fatal in a battle against experts. Such an opening would only bring a person to death faster. Those kinds of battles where people instantly unleashed their strongest moves at the start were absolute nonsense. They were just used to dazzle others. In real battles, large moves were often difficult to unleash and required careful preparation. Normally, you either had to create distance or use some kind of ruthless move to force back your opponent. There was also another option. That was to take advantage of when your opponents were filled with hesitation and indecision to unleash your ultimate move. Was a huge saber image soared into the clouds. Energy that felt like it could exterminate heaven and earth condensed in the air. The saber image was completely straight. Its power caused the river of stars to quiver. In that instant, Kei Xinyan, Yan Machin, and the other rank 5 celestial turned as pale as paper. They were locked down by a terrifying aura. At that moment, it felt like they were facing a merciless death god whose sickle was slowly approaching them. The huge saber image crashed down. It seemed to fill every corner of the world. Whether you fled to the heavens or hell, you wouldn't be able to escape it. Flames seal the heavens. Great earthen protection. Dark underworld shield. The three of them activated their spirit blood, using self-destructive moves to unleash their greatest defensive moves. Their defenses had barely formed before the saber image reached them. The huge saber image contained boundless killing intent. It tore through the air, causing the void to rumble. Boom! It slashed down upon their three defenses. The defensive measures they had used self-destructive methods to summon instantly blew up. The earth shook intensely, and a terrifying chi wave erupted in every direction. The ground was stripped of a layer of stones. Even the distant Hua Xiyu, Hu Guishan, and Fan Song were blown back by the chi wave. Hua Xiyu coughed up blood and flew dozens of miles away. She had already used a forbidden technique against the devil beasts. Then she had used it once more to stall Hu Guishan and Fan Song. As soon as she was struck by that chi wave, her aura dropped precipitously. Just as she was about to smash into the ground, Zhao Zian flew over and caught her. The chi wave rampaged through the entire battlefield. When the dust finally settled, people saw a huge hole in front of Long Chen. There were two people lying in the hole, gasping for breath. The two of them were Kei Xinyan and Yan Machin. The two of them lay in the hole, constantly coughing up blood, all their bones broken. Kei Xinyan's head had even caved in, making his current state appear frightening. As for the other rank 5 celestial, he had already disappeared. He had been blown to bits by the attack. Long Chen stabbed his saber into the ground and gasped for breath. That was his current strongest saber attack. But it was also exhausting to use. To activate 27 divine runes instantly consumed the majority of his spiritual yuan. But the worst thing was that it had provoked his previous injury from breaking the limits of the Raging Flame prison. Both he and Hualong had suffered a heavy backlash from that power. Right now, the trees in the primal chaos space no longer possessed enough life energy to help him too much. At best, they were only able to suppress some of his injuries, but they were unable to instantly heal the injuries any longer. After using up so much spiritual yuan, he no longer had the power to suppress those injuries. He felt like his body was about to break down. On the surface, it looked like he was meekly panting for breath. But in reality, cracks had appeared in his body. Those were very serious injuries. But Long Chen raised his saber and slowly walked toward the two of them. The two of them were filled with terror. They could clearly feel the sensation of death descending upon them. They wanted to say something, but as soon as they opened their mouths, they coughed up blood. Just as Long Chen got close, a flame arrow shot toward him. This attack came out of nowhere, and before anyone could react, it reached his chest. Kei Xinyan continued to cough up blood, but he had a sinister smile. That was his Earth Flame's trump card. At such a close distance, there was no way for Long Chen to dodge. This sudden attack caused startled cries from everyone. No one had expected that Kei Xinyan, who had been on his final breaths, would still be holding back such a powerful move. Long Chen smiled with derision. He was the true ancestor of playing with fire. Was it even possible for him to forget about the powerful earth flame in Kei Xinyan's body? The flame arrow was Kei Xinyan's earth flame that had transformed into an arrow. Its power was such that even a king would be killed if struck. Just as this arrow was about to pierce Long Chen's body, a lightning dragon appeared and bit down on the arrow. Then the lightning dragon and flame arrow disappeared together. Kei Xinyan turned pale. In that instant, he lost his connection to his earth flame. That was naturally because the earth flame was suppressed within the primal chaos space. Within the primal chaos space, it seemed to be suffering some kind of pressure and didn't dare to resist. Hualong was like a magical beast that had been starving for millennia, and it immediately pounced. The earth flame simply allowed itself to be devoured. Long Chen's saber stabbed through Kei Xinyan's chest. The power behind his saber caused Kei Xinyan's body to explode. The instant his body exploded, a translucent soul flew out. As a flame cultivator, Kei Xinyan possessed powerful spiritual strength. His spiritual body had only just appeared and begun to flee when a lightning arrow flew toward him. No! Kei Xinyan's soul let out a miserable and unwilling cry. But that cry was unable to change his fate of being completely exterminated. The lightning arrow struck Kei Xinyan's soul, causing it to dissipate. Long Chen then stabbed his saber into Yen Machen's chest. He raised him into the air. Yen Machen's bones were all broken, and he was like a lump of flesh. I said that whether you ascend to the heavens or flee to hell, I would still kill you. Now you should believe it. Long Chen's voice was icy cold as he stared at Yen Machen. Everyone on the battlefield was staring at Long Chen in shock. They were unable to even feel their hearts beating. Han Yunshan had died. Wei Changhai had died. Kei Xinyan had died. Those two rank 5 celestials had also died. Those were all peak heavenly geniuses, but they had been killed one by one just like this. Even Hu Guishan and Fan Song were as pale as paper. They had also misjudged Long Chen. Long Chen was much crazier than they had thought. Seeing Yen Machen hang helplessly with Long Chen's saber through him, everyone was deathly silent. Hu Guishan and Fan Song were both too far to possibly do anything. They simply watched. Hua Xiu managed to stand with Zhao Ziyan's support. She stared at that distant figure. Domineering. A devil who could not be restrained. It was like within heaven and earth, he was the only thing that existed. Long Chen, go ahead and kill me. In any case, you'll also die. Cough. Yanmachin already knew that his death was doubtless today. He smiled sinisterly at Long Chen. Unfortunately, you'll never see that day. I'll be sending you on your way now, said Long Chen coldly. Stop! Just at this moment, 5 figures rushed over. Those 5 were wearing robes of the senior generation. The one leading them was a handsome and cold man. How brazen, Long Chen! You dare to kill people from the same sect? Your crimes have already earned you the death penalty, so hurry up and release him, he shouted. Seeing that man, Hu Geishan and Fan Song smiled. Even Yanmachin, who had accepted his death, had his eyes brighten. Hee, Long Chen, you can't kill me. Senior apprentice brother Xianyang is here. Once you kill me, he'll crush you like an ant. It was unknown whether or not it was because of his excitement, but Yanmachin suddenly had a surge of life. Death penalty? Release him? Another bunch of arrogant idiots who look down on others. You're definitely related to the law enforcement hall. How laughable! If I've already earned the death penalty, why would I release him? Is the only thing in your heads crap? Sneered Long Chen. Spiritual yuan poured into his saber. As long as he willed it, he could kill Yanmachin, and no one would be able to stop him. That cold man narrowed his eyes, and a hint of killing intent appeared within him. This was his first time encountering someone who dared to speak to him like this, and it was just a sea expansion disciple. In reality, he was one of the top heavenly geniuses of the previous generation. He was at the peak of foundation forging and a rank 6 celestial. Even ordinary elders wouldn't dare to offend him. Long Chen's deduction was completely right. He was closely related to the law enforcement hall. He had already joined their side. In the Xiantian Dao sect, disciples could freely join any department they wanted once they reached foundation forging. This could be likened to an application. Once they advanced to the Jade Core realm, in other words, the level of a king, they would become elders of that department. For those who had joined a department, their glory would be the department's, and the department would greatly support them. It was also due to this that the Law Enforcement Hall had still spent a huge number of points on Kei Xinyan despite him losing his earth flames repeatedly. Although Kei Xinyan, Hu Geishan, and Fan Song hadn't reached foundation forging and couldn't officially join them yet, that didn't stop them from receiving the Law Enforcement Hall's patronage. The Law Enforcement Hall's power was just what they wanted. So Yanmachin, Fan Song, and Hu Geishan all knew who this cold man was, and they also felt much more secure in seeing him arrive. I don't believe you dare to kill him. The instant you kill him, I will kill you, said that icy man. The instant he spoke, the world became silent. Some kind of formless energy locked onto Long Chen. This was a spatial lock that could be used once someone reached foundation forging. Through great power, he had compressed space, causing Long Chen to be under immense pressure. Someone with a weak cultivation base wouldn't even be able to move in such a situation. They would be no different than an ant whose life was in the foundation forging expert's hands. This was the difference between the sea expansion realm and the foundation forging realm. Under this kind of spatial lock, each one of Long Chen's movements was sensed by the cold man. As soon as Long Chen used his power to kill Yanmachin, it would be sensed, and the cold man would launch an all-out attack. Release him and you might be able to live, he called. His voice was full of confidence and unquestionable dignity. Who do you think you are to order me? I, Long Chen, never submit to threats. Long Chen suddenly smiled coldly. A lightning arrow shot out of his body and struck Yanmachin. The lightning arrow pierced Yanmachin's head. Yanmachin's eyes widened. Within those widened eyes, the only thing that existed was unwillingness. Yanmachin was killed right in front of that cold senior disciple. The tension in the air reached a peak. Since you want to die, I'll help you out. The senior disciple waved a hand, and thousands of runic swords appeared around him, shooting toward Long Chen. Split the heavens 3. Long Chen had been secretly circulating his spiritual yuan even before killing Yanmachin. He had activated all 27 divine runes. However, he had less than a third of his spiritual yuan, causing his attack's power to sharply drop. Boom! Long Chen's saber image exploded upon contact with the senior disciple's swords, and he was blown back, vomiting blood. Many faint cracks appeared on his body. Not bad, you were able to receive one of my attacks. But you'll still die. The senior disciple summoned a huge sword image. It split into two, and then two split into four. Their sharpness caused the void to be easily pierced by them. They shot toward Long Chen. This was one of his truly powerful attacks, and there was no way for Long Chen to resist it, especially not in his heavily injured state. Long Chen took a deep breath. A medicinal pill suddenly appeared in his hand, the Dragon Tiger Heavenly Explosion Pill. That was a top-grade pill he had obtained in the immemorial path. Just as he was about to swallow it, a cold shout rang out. Gao Xianyang, you grow more and more shameless. Do you not feel ashamed to bully a newcomer? Sword Chi slashed down, destroying Gao Xianyang's four sword images. Su Mo appeared in front of Long Chen. At the same time, a gentle hand pressed onto Long Chen's back. Vast life energy poured into his body. In front of this practically inexhaustible life energy, his injuries began to slowly heal. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Sister Qingxian. Long Chen didn't even need to look back to know that Mu Qingxian had arrived. Sai, I don't know what to say to you. Just keep quiet and use my energy to heal, said Mu Qingxian. At this time, the Dragonblood Legion and the Heaven Female Alliance came to stand by his side. The Flame Gate, Hegemon Hall, and Divine Beast Mansion's disciples were all standing by Hu Gishan and Fan Song. The two sides were sharply opposed. Wang Zhen looked at this scene for a moment, and without a word, he went to stand by Long Chen. Su Mo, does a defeated general like you have any qualifications to speak? Asked Gao Xianyang coldly. Su Mo shook his head. You're the one who is clearest on whether or not I have the qualifications. Now that the matter has reached this point, more words have no meaning. This matter cannot be resolved by just my Elder Hall or your Law Enforcement Hall. After Su Mo finished speaking, everyone's badges lit up. After a moment of darkness, their vision brightened as they reappeared in the Xiantian Dao Sect's inner sect plaza. At this time, there were tens of thousands of disciples already waiting. They were all disciples from the previous generation, foundation forging experts. Their bodies were covered in blood, and their clothes were torn. They had clearly also gone through a bitter battle. Not only were there tens of thousands of foundation forging disciples, but there were also over 1,000 elders, as well as various experts on the level of hall masters. Most shocking of all, even the Xian master himself had arrived. Heavy pressure hung in the air. No one dared to make a sound. With Mu Qingshuan's help, Long Chen's injuries had been suppressed. But they were just suppressed, they were not healed. That discouraged Mu Qingxian. Her wood energy was like a sacred medicine. With her cultivation base, any injuries should be instantly healed. But her wood energy had actually lost effect on Long Chen. Last time, she had been able to heal him, but this time, she only managed to suppress his injury, making sure it wouldn't get worse. Long Chen, do you know your sins? Shouted the Xian master coldly. All the hall masters and elders' hearts shook. In their memory, the Xian master was always indifferent and leisurely. He never seemed to care too much no matter what was happening. But this matter had actually evoked such thunderous anger from him. I don't. Long Chen shook his head. He has guts. The Xian master icily looked at Long Chen before continuing to shout, You repeatedly killed members from the same sect as you, but you don't know your sins? There is no way to pardon you now. Is there something wrong with killing people from the same sect? Asked Long Chen with an uncomprehending expression. Bastard, what a stupid question. Are you trying to play the fool? Killing people from the same sect is punishable by having all of one's bones broken, muscles pulled out, and soul extracted. Long Chen, let's see how you try to escape your punishment now. The law enforcement hall master smiled sinisterly. Fuck your mother, you old bastard. Do you think this matter has anything to do with you? What qualifications do you have to interject here? Cursed Long Chen. You. Luo Fan, shut your mouth. Do you even place me in your eyes? Do you think you can control everything within the Xiantian Dao sect? Shouted the Xian master. The instant he spoke, the world suddenly turned dark. Black clouds filled the sky, flashing with lightning. A terrifying pressure descended. The Xian master is furious. Even the heavenly Daos become furious with him. The hall master's heart shook. Just his emotions had affected the heavenly Daos. In that instant, everyone felt themselves to be ants. Looking up at the heaven's fury, even those on the level of hall masters shivered, their souls shaking. It was like the Xian master could exterminate them with just a thought. The law enforcement hall master shook, large droplets of sweat dripping down his forehead. His face was pale. Disciple doesn't dare. He immediately knelt on the ground respectfully. If you don't dare, then shut up, shouted the Xian master. Then to Long Chen, he icily demanded, Long Chen, what did you just say? All the disciples beside Long Chen, whether they were from the Dragon Blood Legion, Heaven Female Alliance, or any other faction, knelt on the ground. Even Su Mo, Mu Qingxian, and Gao Xianyang knelt. In front of the heaven's fury, every person would have to submit. That kind of pressure came from the depths of the soul. Only by kneeling could they express their reverence for the heavenly Daos. But Long Chen was still standing. That fierce heavenly Dao pressure was something he could sense, but he had no fear toward it. After so many heavenly tribulations, he had gone against the heavenly Daos many times, and he had never submitted. He could practically ignore this kind of pressure. Seeing that Long Chen could remain standing, the hall masters were all shocked. No cultivator could possibly disrespect the heavenly Daos. Long Chen had to be a monster. As expected, he's a divergent. The Xian master's expression didn't change. He continued to icily stare at Long Chen. I said, is there something wrong with killing people from the same sect? Long Chen was also looking back at the Xian master. In truth, he had no fear. The Xian master's aura might be able to trick others, but it couldn't trick his spiritual perception that came from the 9-star He-Gemin body art. His intuition told him that the Xian master wasn't truly angry. Instead, he was just intentionally acting that way. It was just that no one else was able to tell that. Luo Fan, why don't you tell him if there is something wrong with it or not? Said the Xian master. Luo Fan hastily said, yes. According to the Xiantian Dao sect's 1359th section, the 6th paragraph dash, are you stupid or deaf? The Xian master asked you to tell me whether or not there was something wrong with it. Just say yes or no, interrupted Long Chen. The Xian master's expression was icy cold. He wondered to himself if Long Chen even knew what it meant to feel fear. Fine, yes. Luo Fan's words were spat from the space between his teeth, making them sound very unpleasant. There is? Good, then I'm relieved. Long Chen nodded. What are you talking about? Asked the Xian master. Yen Mochen received someone's instructions to intentionally draw the 9th rank devil beasts to my Dragon Blood Legion, and even the Heaven Female Alliance was implicated. Thousands of my brothers and sisters were killed. Since there is a problem with killing people from the same sect, then Yen Mochen had committed incredibly grave sins. Killing him was cleaning up the sect and protecting the sect from harm. So Grand Xian Master, I don't know what my sins are, said Long Chen. What nonsense, you didn't just kill Yen Mochen. What about those innocent heavenly geniuses? Demanded Luo Fan. Innocent? As the master of the law enforcement hall, can you grow a brain? I was cleaning up the sect, but they were protecting a murderer. How are they innocent? Sneered Long Chen. So something like that happened? Who told Yen Mochen to do this? The Xian master's gaze swept through the disciples. Hu Geishan and Fan Song both quivered. Even kneeling on the ground, they didn't dare to look at the Xian master. They felt like everything about them was exposed. Reporting to Xian master, no one told him anything. Yen Mochen acted because of his personal enmity with Long Chen. It has nothing to do with us, said Hu Geishan. Yen Mochen's actions had been too obvious, and there was no way that people would misunderstand his intentions. Now that he was dead, the smartest act would be to place all the blame on him. Originally, Hu Geishan hadn't thought that this matter would become so big. The law enforcement hall had only said that as long as he had a chance, he should kill Long Chen. But now this matter had blown up to the point that even the law enforcement hall couldn't handle it anymore. Hu Guishan was afraid now. Now, he couldn't even hope for Long Chen to be executed. All he could hope was that he wouldn't be implicated. After all, 6 top heavenly geniuses had been killed. If he was careless, even his life might be paid as a price. But by saying this, he was testifying for Long Chen that Yan Mochen had intentionally harmed his own sect, reducing Long Chen's sins. However, there was no way around that anymore. Protecting his own life was more important. Luo Fan's expression was a bit ugly, but he also had no way to handle this. If there was an investigation, it would be troublesome. It really was best to place all the blame on a dead ghost. But having Long Chen killed for this matter was now becoming unlikely. Then let's put that matter aside for now. Let me ask, how is it that 9th rank devil beasts would appear on the battlefield of the new disciples, and over 70 at once? The Xian master's gaze instantly became sharp like blades. When the Xian master said this, a few people's expressions changed, especially one of the disciples beside Gao Zhang. His face was pale as paper, and he began to quiver. The truth was that he was one of the defenders for the channel leading to the place Long Chen and the other new disciples had been guarding. He had been leading a few powerful foundation forging experts against the 9th rank devil beasts. They had slowly released the devil beasts below the 9th rank through the channel. That way people would fight the devil beasts most suited for their level, and it was the most effective way to kill them all. But as they had been killing the 9th rank devil beasts, they had gradually forgotten to look after the channel for the new disciples. They had been focused on killing the 9th rank devil beasts. After all, this was also a chance to get rich. Later, too many 9th rank devil beasts had appeared, and they had been forced back. But when one of them suddenly saw a wave of 9th rank devil beasts charging down the side channel leading to the new disciples, his soul had almost fled in fright. He had hastily alerted Gao Xianying, asking him what to do. Such a grave mistake was punishable by death. Gao Xianying had immediately summoned over a few experts to help him kill the devil beasts there. He had immediately set out, leading a group of people to chase after the ones that had gotten past. As a result, he got there just in time to see Long Chen kill Yan Mochen. Now that he was asked about this, that disciple turned pale. It was disciple's negligence. Luo Fan, this is one of the disciples of your law enforcement hall. You should know how to handle him, said the Xian master coldly. Disciple understands. It's the death penalty. However, Luo Fan wanted to plead for leniency for that disciple. After all, he was a rank 6 celestial. There are no excuses. He ignored other people's lives for points. I want to see the results within 3 days. Send him to the supervising department, ordered the Xian master. Yes. The law enforcement hall master could only agree. That disciple was brought away by 2 others. Clearly, the only thing that awaited him was death. This punishment was truly a bit heavy. After all, that was a rank 6 foundation forging celestial. However, his mistake had almost caused all the new disciples to be killed. That was definitely unforgivable. Luo Fan, that was a disciple of your law enforcement hall. You share both honor and disgrace. As the master, you are also to blame. Starting today, you are demoted half a rank to a vice hall master. The law enforcement hall's decisions will have to be jointly decided by the 3 vice hall masters. The Xian master's words shocked all the hall masters. The Xian master was finally giving a blow to the law enforcement hall. Clearly, the Xian master was using this matter as an excuse to punish them. However, this punishment was a bit heavy. His orders would now have to be discussed and agreed with by others. Although the other 2 vice hall masters would definitely not disagree with Luo Fan's decisions, and it would still be his decisions that reigned supreme, it was a big blow to his face for him to be demoted in public. Congratulations on your new position, Vice Hall Master, said Long Chen at the first opportunity. In any case, they were already mortal enemies, and there was no reason for him to hold back with him. You want to kill me? Well, even if I can't beat you to death, I can anger you to death. The Law Enforcement Hall Master No. The Law Enforcement Vice Hall Master Luo Fan, was so enraged that his face turned dark and his teeth creaked from being clenched. He had an urge to crush Long Chen with a single palm. He was infuriated. This punishment was too harsh. Even if the law enforcement hall had some blame, there was no need for the Xian master to give him such a heavy punishment, to publicly demote him in front of all the elders and disciples. However, he couldn't display this anger toward him. Long Chen, although you had a reason for your actions, your way of handling things was too drastic and aggressive. It cannot be said that you were completely right. You are to be imprisoned in the ghost prison for 10 days, said the Xian master. He waved his hand, and a ray of divine light descended upon Long Chen. Long Chen disappeared. Hearing that Long Chen was being imprisoned in the ghost prison, quite a few elders' expressions changed. They knew Long Chen was about to suffer. Everyone else can leave. If you want to obtain your points, you can go to the Elder Palace. After sending Long Chen to the ghost prison, the Xian master also disappeared. In the end, it was the Elder Hall master who took over. Lu Tsang, don't be too pleased, said Luo Fan as everyone was leaving. I don't know what you're talking about, said Lu Tsang. Stop playing stupid. I admit defeat this time, but just wait. It's still too early to say who will be the final winner, snorted Luo Fan. Looking at Luo Fan's departing figure, Li Changfeng walked over to Lu Tsang, shaking his head. I really can't understand why the Xian master would allow such an idiot to become the law enforcement hall master. Was it just because of the merit his ancestor contributed to the Shantian Dao sect? Don't say such a thing. The Xian master's intelligence and schemes aren't something we can comprehend, said Lu Tsang. Well, this time, Long Chen's going to have some suffering to go through. That ghost prison isn't a good place, said Li Changfeng. No, you're wrong. Long Chen possesses tribulation lightning. What ghosts would dare to approach him? Lu Tsang shook his head. That's right. Then the Xian master, I've already said that he isn't an existence the likes of us can comprehend. Go and get some people to work. The number of people exchanging their bracelets for points in the Elder Palace is going to keep us busy. After saying that, the two of them also left. Long Chen's vision was dark. He had appeared in a sealed space 300 meters wide with no sound, no airflow, no nothing. It was only silent like death. Ji. Suddenly, sinister laughter rang out, and the walls of the prison lit up. Strange images appeared. They were monsters that had bat-like wings and human heads. They flew back and forth across the walls. Although they had human heads, their eyes were sunken cavities, and two sharp fangs protruded out of their mouths. Their mouths themselves were so wide that they almost reached their ears. Following that sinister laughing, those monstrous life forms actually flew out of the walls and began to fly closer to Long Chen. They revolved around him, their laughter capable of causing a person's blood to turn cold. That sound made it feel like needles were stabbing his soul. It would make a person feel so much pain that they would long for death. Only those who experienced it would know how painful it was. But this kind of spiritual pain wasn't all bad. The benefits were that it could be likened to crushing a person's soul, making it easier for them to expel impurities. But that pain wasn't something an ordinary person could endure. Normally, a person wouldn't be able to last even a day in here. 3 days was a limit. Staying past 3 days would make a person crazy. Shut up. Long Chen's spiritual strength was incredibly powerful, but even after summoning spiritual defenses, he felt a headache from listening to their laughter. Jie your mother. Long Chen roared in fury, and lightning exploded from his body. Those bizarre life forms instantly flew back to the walls and returned to being images. Only then did Long Chen sigh with relief. Their voices had been too irritating, making it so he couldn't even hear his own thoughts. He had also encountered these kinds of strange things in the immemorial path. Yu Shaoqian had said they were the result of a person's soul splitting into 3 parts, with the part known as the Mei transforming into this kind of state. However, they were much stronger than the ghost creatures he had encountered in the immemorial path. But the curious thing was, he didn't sense any hostility from them. They seemed to almost have been raised by humans, and were in charge of tempering a person's soul. However, Long Chen was unable to bear that kind of tempering method. After scaring them away, he began to look over the walls of his prison. There were only 4 walls, and adding in the ceiling and the floor, there were 6. The ceiling didn't have these kinds of creatures carved into it. Instead, it had a simple symbol written on it. It was like a bunch of random arcs had been drawn together. It somehow looked both random as well as meticulously drawn. Each arc was of different lengths and curves. Piled together, they should have appeared completely chaotic. However, they gave off a natural and harmonious feeling. This image is definitely strange. Long Chen was startled. This complicated symbol made him think of the diagram he had encountered in the entrance of the immemorial path. That diagram had refused to allow itself to be copied. In the end, he had used the primal chaos bead to record it. However, even now, he didn't know how to use it. Later, he had asked the Eastern Wasteland Bell about it, but it had merely said that it was related to the secrets of heaven and earth. With his cultivation base, it was best not to learn about it. That diagram was simple, almost like an ancestor of all runes. But it also contained some kind of mysterious energy. Now, this symbol gave him the same kind of feeling. Was the Xian master trying to intentionally help him? Long Chen began to carefully examine the lines. But he wasn't able to see any clues. It was like pieces of firewood had been thrown together. It was clearly completely random without any rules to it, but then looking at it, it felt natural and perfect in its chaotic state. "Hey, come out. I want to ask you something," Long Chen called out the ghosts inside the walls. Long Chen was confident these ghosts were most likely raised by the Xiantian Dao sect. They were used to either punish disciples or to temper their souls. Even after waiting a long time, there was no reaction from the walls. Long Chen clapped himself on the head. He took out a golden coin and tossed it into the air. Hundreds of ghosts suddenly charged out of the walls to the golden coin. They actually caused powerful spatial rumbling. Don't fight. I have more for you. Whoever can tell me what the thing on the ceiling is and how it's used will be thanked lavishly by my money." Long Chen took out a handful of golden coins. As soon as those golden coins appeared, the ghosts charged toward Long Chen. Prepared, thunder force appeared around his body, forcing them back. Long Chen laughed mischievously. As expected, money could make even ghosts work. He could feel their greed and desire. Just at this moment, ripples flowed over him. They were actually spiritual messages that delighted Long Chen. He hastily looked up once more. The Xian master was sitting alone in a private room, and there was a certain scene on the wall before him. That scene showed Long Chen, who had been cast into the ghost prison. "Are you starting to reap the harvest?" asked an ancient voice. "Yes." Originally, there should have been a longer time before the harvest, but Long Chen's arrival has changed my plans a bit. The Xian master nodded. "Are you helping Long Chen or harming him? You actually gave him the entire Xiantian catalog to look at. It can't count as helping or harming him. I'm just giving him an opportunity. Today, I saw many things because of Long Chen, and in particular, I saw some variables that are not in my control. These variables are largely beneficial to the Xiantian Dao sect, so I've used this method to allow Long Chen to see the complete Xiantian catalog. It's up to him whether or not he can grasp anything," said the Xian master. "The Xiantian catalog is an immortal canon that we have to translate into a simpler form for the disciples before we teach it to them. And those who can comprehend it are as rare as a phoenix feather or a unicorn horn. As for the most original Xiantian catalog, let alone Long Chen, even those like Lu Tsang and Luo Fan wouldn't be able to see anything from it with just 10 days, said that ancient voice. Of course I know that, but I still feel like there are secrets we don't know about Long Chen. Perhaps those secrets are the things Long Chen relies on the most. I'm testing him like this. If he can comprehend anything from the Xiantian catalog, perhaps I'll change my plans, said the Xian master. Decide for yourself. In any case, I've handed the Dao sect to you. If you're so confident, I can focus completely on breaking through. Master, how assured do you feel this time? The Xian master's expression became slightly grave. I guess 30%. After all, those who succeed in Nether Passage are few and far between after the immortal era. After a moment's hesitation, he continued, "If I fail, you don't need to be burdened. You can be free." The Shen master shook his head. "I don't feel like you gave me a burden. I just feel like you were too conservative. Continuing like this isn't beneficial to the Shen Tian Dao sect's development. Alright, let's not talk about these things. I'm going into seclusion, and I won't be coming out until I break through. I don't want to think about these troublesome things." "Wait, what? What is Long Chen doing?" The ancient voice suddenly became full of shock. The Shen master also looked at the wall. He saw Long Chen had taken out gold coins and was giving them one by one to the ghosts. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This rotten brat, he dares to even buy them? These ghosts have a certain spirituality, and they've seen the hall masters comprehend the Shen Tian catalog. Looking at Long Chen's expression, he definitely obtained some useful information, said the Shen master helplessly. "Thank you all, you can go back. I'm going to go comprehend this thing." Long Chen distributed several hundred gold coins to the ghosts. He was full of excitement. So each line can be comprehended with the soul to grasp it. It's indistinct and unfathomable, just like the heavenly Taos. This was what Long Chen had concluded through the countless clues the ghosts had told him. He took a deep breath and expelled his random thoughts. Focusing completely, he placed all his attention on one of the lines of the symbol. When his mind sank into that line, the line suddenly unleashed a burst of light. The Shen master's expression changed. The Shen Tian catalog was not something just any disciple could comprehend, especially not the original Shen Tian catalog. Normally, disciples would first have to gradually cultivate one of the Tao paths of the Shen Tian catalog. Once their comprehension of that Tao path was enough, then under their teacher's guidance, they would come to learn which line of the Shen Tian catalog referred to their Tao path. This process would take several years for even geniuses. And to form a resonance with the Shen Tian catalog like this would take decades to centuries. In the Shen Tian Dao sect, amongst the thousands of elders, there were only a few dozen who could form a resonance with the Shen Tian catalog. And even those elders would require a few hours to start that resonance. But Long Chen had succeeded in resonating with the first line in just a few breaths. There were a total of 36,000 lines in the Shen Tian catalog, which referred to 36,000 types of cultivation. It encompassed tens of thousands of laws and Taos. It was wide-ranging and profound, a secret canon of the immortal era. The Shen Tian Dao sect's inheritance was based on it. Once Long Chen chose a line, he encountered a strange space. This space was filled with countless revolving runes. At the same time, he saw a scene in front of him. There was a maiden playing a zither, and its sound was like stones falling into a clear spring. It was refreshing, cleaning the mind and soul. This line is the music Tao. You want a manly man like me to play the zither? Long Chen retreated from that strange space with just a thought, once more choosing a new line. This time he entered a desert. Sand blew through the air, covering the sun. Long Chen was lost for a while before he realized this was an extremely rare style amongst earth cultivators, sand cultivators. The sand was like a furious dragon roaring toward the sky. This is also not suitable for me. Long Chen once more retreated and chose a new line. This time, he entered a space filled with flying snow and countless ice stalactites soaring out of the ground. This was the ice Tao, also not what he wanted. He tried several lines, and each time he would leave after just a few breaths. That made the Shen master speechless. "Master, do you have any opinion?" he asked after a long moment. It's very likely due to his cultivation technique. It might be on an even higher level than the Shen Tian catalog, making it so the Shen Tian catalog cannot hide any of its Tao paths. The two of them descended into silence. That was too shocking. It had to be known that the Shen Tian catalog's Tao paths were all shockingly profound. A genius might spend a lifetime studying it and not even comprehend a tenth. Furthermore, each Tao path required a disciple to have the right qualifications to reveal itself to them. Only ice attribute disciples could open the corresponding Tao paths. It was like a key opening a lock. But now, Long Chen was opening each Tao path one after another, shocking both the Shen master and his master. Originally, The Xian master had just been wanting to see if Long Chen could cause a resonance with the Xiantian catalog and find his corresponding Dao path. But he hadn't thought that Long Chen didn't need such luck. He could go through all of them as he pleased. It was too shocking. Long Chen went through many Dao paths without finding one that suited him. Either it was useless or he wasn't able to cultivate it. Finally, he entered a space filled with roaring flames. Finally, I found this place. Long Chen was delighted. This space was definitely the place to comprehend the flame Dao. Although he had his pill god memories, they were very incomplete. His ways to circulate flames were limited to alchemy techniques, and there was basically nothing about fighting. The flame Dao here was perfectly suited to him. The flame Dao was not the pill Dao. The flames here were used for combat, just what he needed. He immediately sat lotus-style within the flames. Those flames were formed of the Dao path, and from it he could sense many things that he had overlooked before. Fighting with flames was different from using flames for alchemy. It was pure flames without the slightest with spiritual energy. Such flames were even more berserk and much more powerful. But because Huolong had always been helping him to refine pills, it had formed a resonance with his trace of wood spiritual energy. As a result, it was no exception even when fighting. Now when he thought about that, he felt he really was stupid. If he extracted that wood spiritual energy, Huolong's power would become even greater in combat. Within this strange space, the flames were constantly changing, and there were also various flame runes revolving. Long Chen randomly reached out to grab one. That flame rune exploded violently, shooting out flame arrows at Long Chen. Long Chen jumped in shock and hastily dodged, but some flame arrows were still shooting toward him. He hastily took out Blood Drinker. Those flame arrows caused his arm to turn numb when he blocked them. Long Chen was shocked by how powerful this flame attack was. After the explosion of flame arrows was over, they transformed back into the exact same rune as before. Could it be? Is every rune here a flame magical art? Long Chen looked at the various runes floating in the air with absolute delight. I've definitely struck gold now. Long Chen arrived in front of that rune and once more grabbed it. The rune instantly exploded, but this time he sensed the way and the rules of how the flames had circulated and how the energy was accumulated before erupting. So that's what it was. Blood Drinker blew apart the rain of flames. He had finally realized the secrets of this place. Each of these runes was a magical art's most primal rune. When activated, it would display the principles behind it. However, it would only display it for an instant, and without intentionally paying attention, it was very difficult to remember it. However, it wasn't able to pose a problem for someone with spiritual strength as strong as Long Chen's. After 2 tests, he had memorized its principles. He took a deep breath and formed hand seals. A translucent rune condensed over his palm. Meteor rain of arrows. Once that rune was formed, he involuntarily shouted its name. Following that, a huge ball of flames condensed above his head, and then countless flame arrows shot out. Each flame arrow caused a huge explosion upon striking the ground. Even Long Chen was shocked by its power. That had just been a small test. Because he had just learned it, he had been afraid of a backlash and only used a small amount of flame energy. He hadn't expected it to have such a terrifying effect. The Xiantian catalog is truly worthy of being one of the Xiantian Dao sect's core treasures. No good, I can't be this excited. I have to quickly learn all of this. Why was I only imprisoned for 10 days? It should have been at least a month. Long Chen reached his hand out to the next rune. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.